It's 5 out of 5. We made it to Friday, day number 5 in the week. And it should be exciting for all of us, right? I guess every day we wake up, so we come to the point where it's no longer a miracle for us. But it is a miracle if you are able to wake up. This morning, at the time I slept at dawn, I felt I might struggle to wake up, which I did. But at least I woke up. How about those who didn't? So be thankful, be grateful that you are able to watch me this morning and I'm able to come to you from this point in the studio. My name is Benjamin Akakwe, and with a grateful heart, I welcome all of you aboard the AM show. As always, of course, I do this together with Bernice Abubedu Lanza. But coming up on the show this morning, the news, and after that, we've got a new face. I have a surprise for you joining me for the news review. He's a member of our political desk. He goes by the name Samuel Mbura. He joins us for that segment. And right after that, we get into our big stories. And maybe before that, let me just let you know as well, in sports, right? On Prime Take today, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi sits with the over to you man. Yeah, we all know him, Joe Latte. And how could I forget my blunt thoughts for today? They are going to be sharp. I've titled it Barefaced Thievery, Brazen Arrogance, and a Crisis of Leadership. The beginning of the end. That's what I've titled it. But then in our big stories, there has been that law to ban the declaration, accusation, naming, or labeling of another person as a witch. How do you even get to know that? Well, Parliament went through the amendment process, which also prohibits the practice by any person as a witch doctor or witch finder. Now, on the back of what happened in 2020, 90-year-old Ikiadente was lynched in the Savannah region. I'm sure you saw the videos. Gory, after she was accused of being a witch. Now, a few of such incidents have occurred since then, prompting the passage of this bill sponsored by Member of Parliament for Medina, Francis Xavier Sosu. We'll be hearing from him and other stakeholders on the show today. This is a feat. Also on the show, we'll be talking about rabies. Yeah, rabies. You see those dogs around and some of those other animals, including bats. Now, it is a viral zoonotic disease caused by a family or group of neurotropic viruses that causes progressive and fatal inflammation of the brain and spinal cord. The Ghana Health Service is on a campaign to educate citizens on how to prevent, and if you do get it, how to handle this virus. That conversation will be coming your way later on the show. But today, it may not be AM business, but still, we've got an interaction with EcoBank, the Pan-African bank. It has been running the double salary promo reloaded since May 2023. I think I should get an account. 53 lucky customers emerged winners in the first draw, which was held at the bank's head office auditorium under the supervision of the National Lotteries Authority. The second draw was held in Sunyani, where over 50 customers were rewarded. And the final draw will take place, guess what? Next month, August. We'll bring you details when officials of the bank join us for breakfast. And the final bit today on the show, it is packed. The Ghana Music Awards UK comes up soon. The nominees' night is slated for next Friday, the 4th of August. Our guest will be Dr. Ernest Kwesi. He'll join us on that conversation. He's head of event GMA UK. On that note, let's settle for the news up next. But don't you forget, whatever happens on the show, send us a message. Celebrate that person if it's his or her birthday or anniversary. And let's do this for God and country. We'll be right back. Now, in our first story, court cases in the Upper West region have been suspended after the jury there walked out during proceedings. They accuse government of unfair treatment and have threatened not to return until all their concerns are addressed. Correspondent Rafiq Salam now reports.
According to the jury foreman at the Wahai Court, Hakim Suleiman, they have not been paid their attendance and sitting allowances for almost 2 years. They have continuously complained to the Judicial Service of Ghana on their plight, but has been ignored.
Attendance and sitting allowances that span from November 2021 up to date And we have informed my Lord, the High Court judge, several, and then the judicial administrator and all those people concerned about their failure to honor this our payment. Especially, most of us come from the communities, which is a bit distant from the High Court, and they take means of transport and come to the court as and when there's sitting. So we have complained and they've not heard. They say they've heard, they have not taken any action.
The cruel reality, however, is that colleagues in other regions, according to them, have been paid.
Don't know whether it is a discrimination or a kind of a sort. We can't tell why they have decided to pay all the other regions and left out Upper West region. So we think that we are undermined, and we think that this should get to the authorities for the unfair treatment.
The jury on Wednesday were supposed to sit on a murder case, but they truncated the process, apologized to the court, instead they walk out.
We attended all right, but we made it clear that we are not disrespecting the High Court, we are not disrespecting the lawyers present, and we are not disrespecting the people in the courtroom. So we apologize for our actions that we are going to take, but that we have to lay down our truth until our concerns are met.
For now, cases of murder, manslaughter, and rape are now on sine die. The jury members are saying that they will not sit unless these monies are paid to them.
They cannot give definite sum of the money owed them by the Judicial Service of Ghana, but believes it is in the range of thousands of Ghana cedis for the over 25 jurors and panel members at the Wa High Court and the Wa District Court respectively.
Usually the attendance is 100 cedis and the sitting allowance is 100 cedis. So if you calculate, it depends on the number of attendance and the number of sittings that each jury member makes. So the amount varies from a person to the other. The more cases you are in, you have more monies to pick.
The delay in payment of these monies to the jury members is affecting their lives, and they are now appealing to the government to quickly come to their aid.
Now, the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Dan Butcher, is asking metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies under the Social Cohesion Program to handle the project with tact and discipline. Government and the World Bank are funding the Gulf of Guinea Northern Social Cohesion Project to improve infrastructure and also prevent the spread of conflict from the Sahel into the area. Martin Abugri reports that 48 MMDAs will benefit from this project.
The project is a $450 million World Bank support project expected to be implemented in Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, and Ghana. The government of Ghana's allocation is a total of $150 million credit facility. The project will support the northern parts of the Gulf of Guinea countries that have been affected by food insecurity, climate change, conflict, and violence. The Northern Regional Minister, Shani Alhassan Shaibu, said the development projects would include roads, chipped compounds, schools, markets, among others.
As you are aware, the project is expected to financial investments in some projects types like feeder roads, small air dams, boreholes, and social infrastructure such as markets, schools, complements of furniture, chips compounds, pharmacies, which impact directly on improving the lives of our people. Other investment areas are in ICT centers, recreational facilities such as AstroTurf and parks, information centers which are particularly targeted by the restive and vulnerable youth in these districts who are prime target of extremist ideas across the borders.
The Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development, Dan Kweku Yeboah, on his part said The project should not just be on paper, but there should be a reflection on the ground.
I'm sure many of you have said this. And that's what the minister was saying, that we are going to do this year and then continue next year. We'll double this number of projects. So when we say that Soko is a game changer, truly it is. But it's not going to be a game changer on paper. If our attitude towards its implementation is not what is expected of us, you will get it. And that's due to write a project where your thesis for masters or doctorate. Analyze the intervention of all such projects in the past 30, 40 years and its impact in Northern Ghana. And come out with a conclusion. Either we are not sincere to the people who claim to serve, or many people let this progress and just pocketed their monies. Other than that, with all these interventions, is that what we see in the part of Ghana?
The senior technical advisor at the National Development Planning Commission, Nicholas Azasu, is worried that less than 1/3 of metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies in the country were able to either maintain or improve upon their internally generated funds in 2020. He says only 71 of the 261 MMDAs achieved this feat. There's more on that in this report by Martina Bugri.
The training brought together various senior officers from the assemblies to be trained on revenue mobilization to help them have other sources of revenue for development projects. Senior Technical Advisor at the National Development Planning Commission, Nicholas Azasu, said the Assembly's revenue generation was good until COVID-19, which distracted their revenue collection.
The growth from 2019 to 2020, which was 1.49, has moved up to 12.4, meaning after the COVID, some or most of the assemblies are beginning to recover by improving their internally generated funds. So the workshop is again to be able to support the capacities of the assemblies to sustain the growth and, if possible, improve, and also to be resilient so that in the future, if something similar to COVID happens, the assemblies can maintain their IGFs and still grow their IGFs so that they can provide the required services requested of them.
The UNDP resident representative, Dr. Angela Lusigi, on her part said there was a wide gap between available financing and spending, creating a shortfall.
We all know that local authorities play an important role in the delivery of basic public services. But we also know that they face great challenges. For instance, there's a wide gap between available financial resources and spending needs, particularly in the northern region. We looked at data from the composite budget for the 16 MMDAs in the northern region, and we noticed that by August 2022, they had achieved only 46% of the budgeted revenue. And this means that there was a shortfall of 54%. And over time, this gap is likely to widen because of a rise in demand for services due to urbanization, as well as the impact of frequent natural disasters caused by climate change.
In our next story, the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission is undertaking a tariff education program in public universities across the country. The initiative will educate students on the complexities of energy tariffs, pricing structures, and the importance of responsible energy consumption. Executive Secretary of the PURC, Dr. Ishmael Aka, says the move by the Commission is to demystify the tariff regime in the country.
Energy tariffs are a critical component of any nation's energy sector as they directly influence consumer behavior and energy consumption patterns. In Ghana, like many other countries, tariffs play a significant role in determining electricity and water prices for domestic, commercial, and industrial consumers. The PURC's tariff education program seeks to demystify the complexities surrounding tariff structures and empower students to make informed decisions regarding their energy usage. Dr. Ishmael Aka is the Executive Secretary of the PURC.
We have three main reasons. The first one is to explain what we consider in determining the tariff. The second one is to encourage consumers at least to use electricity efficiently. And the third one is to provide a platform for students to also ask questions, engage us, and provide recommendations and suggestions to us. So we came to Cape Coast Technical University today. One of the key things we mentioned was that we have two tariff windows at PURC. We have the major tariff and the quarterly adjustment. So for instance, we take their proposals during the major tariff and we compare the figures in there with their own historical analysis. So we do what we call trend analysis. So last year they bought a transformer, let's say at 2 million. If this year they are making a proposal and they are telling us that the transformer will cost 5 million, we question them, we compare and do other things. We also compare the prices with regional similar utilities in the region across Africa so that at least we can have a very good price consumers will not burden consumers. And finally, we also go to the market to do a market survey so that we can compare the prices.
Dr. Aka believes when students are empowered, Ghana's energy consumption space will be the better for it.
So every quarter, what we do is that we compare what we forecasted for 3 years against what is happening in that quarter. So for instance, when we're doing the major tariff review, we said the exchange rate was 5 cedis to $1. But maybe after a quarter, it has moved to 8 cedis to $1. What we do is that we compare what we used and take the difference and either add or subtract from the tariff. If we also said the exchange rate will be 5, but it's now 2, then it means that the cedi has gained, so we have to also reduce the tariff. So we do these reviews to ensure that ECG, the transmission companies, and the generating companies have enough to cover their cost of operating and their cost of maintenance and cost of investment.
Some of the students shared their experiences with Joy News.
Actually, I'm a procurement student. This program was so lovely. We were educated about how electricity and water system works, and then how we can also measure the consumption rates in our homes. So it was so lovely. It was so lovely, and then we really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the program so much.
The organizer for the procurement department, and this program, we really like the program because you have learned a lot, and you have learned how the Ghana water company and how the electricity, how they operate things. And I think nowadays you are going to understand when they bring a new things on board. We really thank you people. I say God will bless you, and we are expecting more.
Okay, this program has taught me a lot, that I don't waste energy because I'm going to pay for it. I don't leave things on when I'm not using it. Example is leaving my TV on, coming for lectures. So when I do all this, I'm going to consume less and I'm going to pay for less.
The PURC's initiative to educate the youth on energy tariffs is expected to yield several long-term benefits for the nation. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kojonyako.
Now, the librarian at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Dr. Samuel Nikoi, wants Ghanaian universities to cultivate an open learning practice culture to eliminate barriers that hinder effective teaching and learning. Speaking at the second edition of the KNUST e-learning week under the theme Education Without Borders, Dr. Nikoi observed divisions in the academic environment. He is optimistic, though, that the creation of digital learning groups will bridge the gap.
Nikoi further called for tailored learning support in addition to persons with learning disabilities.
Secondly, I believe as a university we need to work towards building bridges across the various disconnected bubbles within our academic space. Much of teaching and learning in KNUST is in silos, the silo of a department or a faculty or a college. We need to confront the value proposition of our practice and how it supports collaborative open learning, we have to create new models of teaching and learning that confront archaic mindsets that inhibit interdisciplinary and cross-disciplinary teaching and learning. One way to address this problem is through the creation of digital learning design groups, working together to reflect best pedagogical practice and bring vitality and relevance to our curriculum. We should work towards the development of a culture of open learning practice, built around norms and standards that promote open learning communities, and move away from education delivery being mere trafficking of information and to knowledge creation. Thirdly, we must confront learning support for multiple modes of learning responsive to individual and group-based learning needs. As a university, we need to establish and develop a technical support mechanism which ensures that every learner can be supported in their learning journey.
KNUST Vice-Chancellor Professor Rita Akosia-Dixon was happy with the university's commitment to expanding access to quality education beyond graphical, social and cultural constraints through e-learning.
The theme, Education Without Borders, encapsulates the essence of this transformation. It indeed signifies our commitment to expanding access to quality education beyond geographical, social, and cultural constraints. Through e-learning, we have collectively shattered the physical boundaries that once limited our reach. Today, we are extending our reach to learners who may be in remote corners of our nation or even across the globe.
Director of KNUST E-Learning Center, Professor Eric Apew-Asante, announced some activities in this year's program, including online learning festival, professional development session in cybersecurity, technology mentoring session for SHS, Tech Smarters, among others. The week will be climaxed by awards to students and faculty who have excelled in the use of the KNUST Learning Management System. The program was in collaboration with the Indian High Commission, Israeli Embassy, Arizona State University, MasterCard e-learning initiative, and StudyX.
And it's on that educational note that we cap off the news. But stay with us. Right up next, the news review. We'll be back. Before you see me prepare like this on television, a lot of work goes on in the back room. My director was just saying, iris up, iris up, iris up. It's amazing, the people who make us look good. I always say that. We come and we take all the glory, but today I want to celebrate as we get into the news review. Yao Forson, director extraordinaire, and my producer extraordinaire, Derek Ekosam. So Derek no cry anyway. We'll delve into that some other day. There's Solomon, who is here, together with the rest of the crew. Some of the names I don't know. And there's this gentleman with a huge beard. We all call him Abodje. Abodje. But he ensures that the lighting is right, so that dark as I am, you can see me on TV. There's also Linda, also very dark. To all the crew who make it happen on the show, I just want to salute you. God richly bless you. All right. I bestow blessings as well onto the character, a certain character who joins me in the studio. A very good character. Outside of here, we are always up to mischief, but on here, we're of good behavior. The man, Samuel Umbura, all the way from the Upper East region. When last were you in the Upper East?
I was there in April, yeah.
April. Okay, so May, June, July. About 3 months ago.
Yeah.
How is the Upper East?
Oh, everything is moving on well. It's just a normal conversation about development, health, roads, infrastructure. You know, the latest has to do with the one district, one dam. I mean,
one village, one dam. Yeah.
You know,
we've been there.
Yeah, Jojo was there with the team. I was in touch with them when they were there. They actually went to my district where they shot the first
Which
documentary.
is?
That's Bongo District.
Bongo District, right.
That's where they shot the first documentary on the one district, one village, one dam. And it's actually a nightmare for the people there. You know, one would have thought that the policy could have helped in the way when it comes to dry season farming. You know, we have the unimodal rainfall pattern there.
Yeah.
The rain rains once in a year.
Yeah, once in a year, and
so
that's it.
You
don't get the second.
They rely on the rain-fed agriculture. So at least if you are able to bring this one village, one dam policy, the youth who normally troop down to the south to work during the
Some of them would stay.
Exactly. And we have evidence to show those who farm along the White Volta, on the Boku stretch, onion farms and all that, they are able to fend for themselves and the family. So that is one of the major headaches that the people are calling on the government to go back and reconstruct them, at least cluster the dams. There are some villages that is just like a kilometer away, and you have these dams that have been constructed. So
I hear where they were situated, some of the people were saying, this will not work, this will not work. And truly, it did not work.
And because there are no sources of water sources to the dams, they rely on the rain. So once it is in the dry season, these dams would dry up.
Which means then if you're a farmer, you must find a way of irrigating, whether it's your maize or your groundnut or your sorghum or whatever. And if you can't do that, your crops will die.
Exactly. So that's a major problem. Now we're in the rainy season, so the farmers are relieved. They are farming, but the challenge has to do with the dry season.
When that season comes.
Yeah.
You know, right before I acknowledge Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic and then we get into the papers, something interesting happened to me last night.
Okay.
I was looking for this document, which I did not find anyway, but I stumbled upon some old pictures of me as a little baby boy. And I was asking myself, what happened in between? Because I was so rosy, my cheeks, my hair. You should have seen my fro.
I see.
Now today you see me and it's no testament to, you know, what I looked like back then. But then I fast forwarded and saw some pictures from secondary school at Bishop Herman, way back in time.
Okay.
And I was looking like a feather that had... And then I fast forwarded to when I started work.
Exactly.
In simple terms, Nyamia Ebi.
Yeah.
God has done some because, Charlie, you know, sometimes those old pictures, they humble you.
Exactly.
They show you that, you know, God held your hand and he has kept taking you in life step by step. I'm sure if we were all to do throwbacks here, the way we go laugh.
Yes, well, I'm just thinking, when you started that story, I just started thinking, I'm always shocked, like where I am now. I never dreamt of coming to Joy. It's just by grace. So I look back and I feel refreshed. Thank you, God, for all that you've done for me. It's not the case that I'm special. It's not the case that I'm a different breed of a human being, but it's just the grace of God. And every little achievement or everything that you go through should strengthen you and give you that particular motivation that, look, there are brighter days ahead. Someone will say that, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but you need light in the middle of the tunnel to get to the end of the tunnel. But everything shall surely be in the right place at the opportune time.
Inshallah. Are you sure you've not been called to ministry?
Definitely.
Because your sermon, your homily was
maybe in
spot on.
In the next 15 years, I should go into full ministry.
Also for Anyway, this segment is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, fertility screening for free. Locate them at Spintex here in Accra, opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. The Stakrade Anaje State Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanso and Esiama Nzema. If you'd like to call them, which I suggest you do, the numbers are 0244 867 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review. I have the Daily Graphic and the Finder. What do you have, Sam?
I have the Daily Guide, the Ghanaian Publisher, and the Daily Analyst.
Okay, let's start with you.
Yeah, Daily Guide, it comes with the picture. That's a big story there. John Mahama dams Nana Hunt for new VIP. We know very well that there are already speculations out there who partner John Mahama ahead of the 2024 general elections. They are looking at the regional dynamics. John Mahama represents the northern extraction in the NDC. Professor J. Nana Opoku Ajiman is from the central region. So you look at the voting dynamics. What did her region contribute in the previous elections? So going with the same candidates, are we secured Are we sure that we'll get the backing of the people from the central region? What is a level of, what's a political clout in that region that should command that attraction and all that? So names like the former chief of staff, Mr. Julius Debra, have come up. Sylvester Mensah, the former vice chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Joshua Alabi, former boss managing director Kingsley, Kwame Uwadako, former chief executive officer of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, Alex Kofi Mold, and former Brown and Hafo Regional Minister Eric Opuku, who they say they enjoy the support of the wife of John Mahama, the former lady, Her Excellency Lordina Mahama. So these are the speculations out there. So far as the run up to the 2024 general election is concerned, and who partners John Mahama in the NDC is a matter of discussion here. Parliament amends whistleblower contract acts.
Before you go on that very point, what do you think? Because the good old professor, some say it would be unfair. The people of the central region have always voted askew, if you like. They don't have a fixed pattern.
It swings.
It swings. Look at the Yasin area, for example, and what has happened. Yes, even before, when it was just one constituency, when Kennedy Ohene Japan was member of parliament, before it was split into north, central, and south, with now Asin North, having been contested a number of times. Even there, it's not, one party can't stake a claim to it. It's not like a Bantama or any other place. You get it. So it's pretty tricky, this conversation. What do you think? You are on our political desk. Do you feel
it is
the former president would change? Because yesterday, listening to them at the Atta Mills Memorial lecture and all of that, when Prof spoke, and she was invited to speak.
Yeah.
She saluted, her boss and all of that. It felt almost as though this was a done deal. So I don't know, but
I've always held a different position when it comes to the choice of the running mates to John Mahama. Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman is a very fantastic material. She's an intellectual. But the question is she a typical politician? That's the question people ask.
Was Atta Mills a typical politician?
Yeah, so he's...
We could ask that
Yeah, we can ask that too.
Dr. Baumia, was he a typical politician? No, he wasn't.
All right, let me advance my point. Now, the regional or the tribal dynamics play a lot. So going into the elections, they'll be looking at, fine, the central region, we have presented someone. So if we go with a different person from a different region, let's say Volta region or Ashanti region, then we have not neglected the central region because we went with one candidate in 2020, but it didn't succeed. Now, I see it to be like if they are going to 2024 general elections with Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman, maybe it is just to honor the late president and to let the people of the
also from the central region.
Central region. Let the people of central region, have the feeling that they have not neglected them. The party is not the prison.
But how do you because the central region has had its fair share from Aka under Rawlings. Aka, Vice President Aka, who infamously got slapped and all of that, so to speak, to Atta Mills, Vice President and President. People say they have had their fair share in terms of vice officials or vice presidents, and that, in fact, some are saying that to win over the Ashanti region, which seems to be leaning. You've heard even some prominent chiefs in the Ashanti region go against the MPP. If they are going to win that region, they need to nominate someone from that part of the country.
Exactly. So I think it will be too early for the NDC to start looking for one. Maybe they have to wait for the NPP to be done with their elections, and that would inform them the type of running mate they should take. But at the moment, you don't know who will lead the NPP. Whether it is, anyone among the 10 can win the election, because politics comes with surprises. So anything
could happen.
Can happen. So they have to wait, see the outcome of the MPP's flag bearer elections, and that will inform them the type of running mate they should take. All right. So let me move to the Parliament, where Parliament has amended the Whistleblower Contracts Act. It comes to the picture of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumani Bagben. We also have Adisa Del bullying student arrested.
What do you think of that video, though? I mean, were you in a boys' school?
No, I went to Big Boys. It was a mixed school.
Mixed school. I was in a boys' school, and yes, bullying. Yes, there are some things that would, but I feel this was extreme. This was not bullying. This was wickedness.
Yeah, when I saw the guy strangling the...
How do you strangle someone?
The colleague and then hitting the head against the metallic bed. I cringed. I was like, I felt cold at the moment. No. Wow, is this guy human? And I decided to analyze...
Some suggest he was high on something.
I decided to analyze the video on the tactics that the guy used. And you realize that the position he...
It's a chokehold.
Yeah, so you realize that the guy is either someone who watches wrestling or he watches violent movies.
So it could also be that he's a martial artist or something, which would make it worse.
Parents should monitor, and that's why parents need to monitor the type of movies their children watch at home so that it wouldn't influence their mentality growing up, because these are children still at their developmental stage, and anything that comes, they may want to experiment it. We've all been through that stage before. So it tells us about the mental aspect of it that we have not taken serious as a country, and it starts from not just from the secondary school, it starts from the JSS, the junior high school. Sorry if I say
the housemaster, took a bit of flack on the back of this, but some things, really, it behoves parents, like you're saying. Sometimes we push the buck to the school, but socialization, acculturization, it starts from the home. Then the school plays its role. Then society plays its role. Sometimes if there's a gap in there somewhere, some of these things happen.
And mostly when these children also witness violence at home, they extend it to others. They think it's normal. After all, my parents, they fight among themselves. They howl all manner of insults against one another. So if I go to school and I do this to my colleague, the person doesn't see that to be an infliction of pain. They don't consider the emotional psychology of their colleagues. And I think that like some of the psychologists are suggesting, mental health must be taken seriously so that we'll at least conscientize our children or our wards to know what to do at what time and what not to do. Still on the front page of the Daily Guide, bench warrant for Christian Divine Church leaders, marijuana smoking not legalized. That's from the Speaker, Urban Subhan Bagbe. We are told it has been legalized for commercial purpose, not for individual use. So those are the stories making headlines on the front page of the Daily Guide. But the back page comes with the minister denying GFA player selection interference, comes with Mustafa Yusuf, who is the minister for youth and sports. Mbappe rejects Saudi meeting. Nigeria ends shock win over WWC host there. The next paper I have with me is the Ghanaian publisher.
You might as well dwell a bit on the... Okay, so the Ghanaian publisher. Let's see what stories there are there. You can read some out.
So it comes with a picture of the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Samuel Abujinapo. It says, Lands Ministry denies granting lithium license. 20 million euro Tamale wastewater treatment plant inaugurated. It is on page 2 of the Ghanaian publisher. Digitization reshaping Ghana, according to the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He has been talking extensively about how
Mr. Digital.
He has been able to use the digital platforms to migrate the economy, and then some of the institutions are able to monitor their exercises or their activities through the digital platforms. And he has been an advocacy of the digital system. But I remember one doctor in technology granted us an interview on Africa Connect, and then he was talking about the fact that the digitalization drive started way back in their champion regime. Some of them championed it. They gave.
No, but we cannot say that this administration started with
exactly.
digitization.
So if the current administration continues it, that's a good point there for us to continue, because we can't continue with the manual system, because we need to upgrade as a country.
I think recently, was it the births and deaths registry? No. I think it was the Registrar Generals or something of the sort. One of those institutions where they had some data from the 19th century, not digitized, if you like. And that is a huge problem. But right before you go on, let me just acknowledge Determined Helen Barr. You say, good morning, I am watching from Liberia. Wow. Thank you for connecting. Every now and then we get viewers from Nigeria, Liberia, Gabon, Gambia, and the rest. So welcome. Thank you so much, Helen Barr, for doing the watching. Other stories you'd like to get into?
All right. So
I want you to exhaust your stories.
Yeah. So the Daily Analyst, we have the same story. If not legalized, we for recreational purposes. Speaker clarifies. exploitation of lithium. Government denies granting licenses to companies. Comes with a picture of some of Abu Janapo. Galamsey is destroying vast cocoa farmlands at Atakrom. It comes with a picture of Mr. George Ebisa Kwesi, an assembly member for that area there. National Development Conference, digitalization helping to reshape Ghana's moral fiber. That's coming from the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. Yoko chases a Lebanese over alleged shady deal there. It comes with a picture of this man. I wouldn't want to attempt to mention the name.
What's the name then?
This is the name. It's not a French name though.
Kishore. Or is it Kishore? Kishore. And the second one? Gurmukdas.
Gurmukdas.
Charlie? We go leave him for here. Anyway. All right, so let me get into the papers I have. The Daily Graphic newspaper this morning. Education Ministry reverses decision on Adisadel student. You know, the other student as well, the victim.
The victim.
I feel was victimized even further by being... I mean, how do you say that he who has suffered this should also, simply because he didn't report it or something of the sort? But Education Ministry reverses decision on Adisadel student. Goyle graphic pledge to promote national interest. Controversy over two fishers' death at sea. And you know, sometimes they go to sea, and there are so many things that happen, including coming face to face sometimes with illegal fishers. Yeah. Some of these people from different jurisdictions, and of course, I cannot fail to mention, I'm not stereotyping, but the Chinese, and sometimes getting into our waters. And because we do not have the sort of logistics and human resource that maybe the United States and other developed countries have to patrol their borders, there's a lot going on that we don't get to see. And our fish stock keeps depleting. Exactly. You know? Yeah. So who knows what happened? I'll get into that story. Speaker clears air on we law. Masa menko they've legalized industrial hemp. You go and smoke your so Anyway, so that's it. On the back page, combating depleting ozone layer. EPA to certify refrigeration technicians. Now, this is also a very important matter. And 3 communities in Amansia West get mining concessions. But the story about the fishermen. Yeah. 2 fishermen from Tema died at sea in the early hours of yesterday, sparking a furore between fishers and port authorities over what caused their death. Now, the fishers, mostly from Temamanghian, that is Newtown, claimed the 2 were part of 12 members who were on a ritual Homowa fishing expedition when a patrol boat from the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority rammed into their canoe at the Tema Port anchorage, causing it to capsize. But the GPHA denied that assertion, saying no such incident had happened at sea. The canoe, Adesa na Ohechui,
that's the name of the canoe?
Yeah.
I see. The fishing vessel belonging to the Chinese?
No. The fisher folk.
The fisher folk.
The local fisher folk. This is a canoe.
Yeah.
Which translates man. Be patient. Not tree. Adesa. No hate tree. Okay. My gun will come bit by bit. Was carrying 12 fishermen who were on a Homowa ritual fishing expedition with the backing of the Tema Traditional Council. The fishermen said they were hauling their nets within the anchorage when they were rammed by the patrol boat that was at the scene to drive them away. Wow. Now, the deceased have been identified as Francis Tetelabi, 27, and Samuel Akwe Alote, 45, both residents of Tema, Newtown. Like Ibitria, I read finish, but this one in Crino. Yeah.
That's sad.
But that's a sad development. That's a really sad development. They went out to fish. I mean, at sea, a 20-something-year-old.
No, one of the issues I've always observed has to do with the lack of safety at the seas where these fishermen go to fish. I was in Saudi from Enumbu society, going to Germany, connecting to, Germany is one of the biggest markets in the country here. Fish, they sell fish there and all manner of food stuff. When I got there, interestingly, I saw children as low as 18 years. They were on their boats, and then they didn't see anything wrong. And they were getting into a deeper part of the lake? Because it connects to the sea as well. And I was like, is it the case that because they feel like we've lived in the fishing community for long, we have that expertise, we have that swimming experience.
Right.
So we don't need any...
You don't play those games with water bodies.
Exactly.
You don't do that.
They don't have the let's say, emergency kits there. So in case there is anything, do you have a life jacket to help? Do you have something to resuscitate the person when a person gets drowned and then the person is weak, or you rescue the person from the sea? And I think more education should go to our fishing communities. You shouldn't assume that because I know how to swim, I've been on this river or this water body for a very long time, even no matter how the tides are very strong, I can go through. And it's actually a worrying situation there that I think we have to take serious interest in averting any possible calamity.
Well, most definitely. Let me also acknowledge we have a viewer who watches the show practically every morning, a very prominent one. I know usually he would like to not be mentioned, but today there's nothing not to mention about him. Professor John Japong, former, is it Vice Chancellor at UHAS? You know, on the back of how we started talking, reflecting on life and everything, he sent me this image that says, your life is someone's dream, so don't be ungrateful.
Exactly.
Your life, no matter how bad it is, it doesn't mean someone else must be worse, but sometimes you just look around you and you see that, Charlie, my own self good.
Oh, yeah.
We all the holla, but my own self good.
Sometimes you feel like giving up.
Be grateful, be thankful. The miracle of sleeping and waking is enough. Prof, we're grateful for your words of wisdom that you've shared with us this morning. God bless you, sir.
You know, sometimes you feel like giving up, but you look at the people who look up to you. So if I give up, look at the number of dreams you have.
What happens to them?
Exactly. So you have to continue pushing no matter the challenges that you find yourself.
Yeah.
Very important.
Let's just take a sneak peek at that story on weed or marijuana. So the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin, has emphasized that the recent legislation on the use of cannabis did not endorse the recreational use or smoking of the drug. He says, we must dispel any misinterpretation of the new acts. The provision is designed to strike a prudent balance between the harnessing of the drug for industrial and medicinal use of not more than 0.3%, which, by the way, if you used that, it would not have any effect on you. And that's the whole point. That is tetrahydrocannabinol, THC content, while maintaining our robust control of narcotics to ensure the safety and well-being of our society. Don't come and say that, oh, why are you guys arresting me? NPP announces date for nomination of proxy voters, and that will be not later than August the 2nd, 2023. So it says, the New Patriotic Party has urged all delegates who intend to nominate a proxy for the Presidential Special Electoral College election to submit the particulars of their proxy to the Secretary of the Elections Committee not later than August 2, 2023. There's also Chief Justice declines removal of Atoforsen trial judge. The Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Saki Tokonu, has declined a request to remove the judge presiding over the case in which Minority Leader and former Deputy Minister of Finance Kassel Atoforsen and two others have been accused of allegedly causing 2.37 million euros financial loss to the state in an ambulance deal. But speaking of euros, Ali, people get cash for this country.
This thing you want to talk about?
We go your house right now. How much you go find?
20 pesos.
20 pesos. An MP, the member of parliament for Japa, was on my show. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago?
Okay.
And he said 2 days ago, I think, you wouldn't even find 1,000 CDs there, and not in his account. Like, hey, bruh, $1 million. You know, today, I'll be sharing my blunt thoughts, and I'll also, as part of it, I'll be sharing with you and all of Ghana and the whole world just how much you can do with $1 million. It would amaze you. If you look at the allocations to some sectors, actually, $1 million is a huge deal. $1 million could fill this entire...
You can construct a better dam.
So I've titled my blunt thoughts for today, Barefaced Thievery. Don't judge it yet. Listen to me and you will understand. Barefaced thievery, brazen arrogance, and the crisis of leadership, the beginning of the end. You want to stay with me for that after Prime Take. But the final newspaper this morning, NLA engaging Finance Ministry, GRA over 10% lotto tax. Charlie, around this time, you win some lottery.
I thought they had implemented it. You know, last year or so, they said they wanted to extend the taxes to the gaming side, those who do sports betting and all that. So at least when you win, the 10% will be deducted from source. I didn't know that they were still in engagement.
Yeah, it appears.
It actually created some reactions from young people who think that, or who say that, you don't give us money to go and do these activities. It's our own money we are investing. They see like it's more than less investment.
Yeah.
So why would we want to do that when you're not part of the investment?
But that's what it is. Access Bank pledges support for Ghana's pharmaceutical industry. There's Alan for President campaign postpones planned Ashanti regional derbys. There's also this one, pretty worrying.
That particular story tour was supposed to start today and end on the 2nd of August. However, we understand they'll be presenting the budget, the mid-year budget review. His team explained that because he wants to lead the country, they have much interest in parliamentary and government business.
And now
they want to hear the direction of the IMF. So that they can be well informed and then get to talk to their people. One of the reasons they are postponing it.
Okay, thanks for the scoop. Akosia Menu promises development, more jobs for Adenta, and it's interesting how she's going about her campaign. Let's see how it goes. I'm happy that young people, though, more and more young people are getting into politics. Just to wrap, tracking devices fixed on 68 excavators for pilot phase of electronic monitoring of excavators. Will this solve the problem? Tire man. Anyway, and then 9.24 million HIV positive persons not on treatment due to stigma. I thought this thing was a thing of the past in a way, because you remember back then they said that even if you touched them or something, but we've come so far. Look at Magic Johnson. I always go back to him and how well he has lived. Getting the virus sometime in the 80s.
Stigma kills more than the disease itself.
No, sometimes.
What society thinks about it.
So what kills you is the fact that you realize what other people, or you contemplate what other people will think about you. That kills people even faster than the disease.
The disease itself, yeah.
Anyway, this one comes through from Fortress Ziga. You say, good morning, Joy News. Good morning to you and your co-host is Watsby G from Alberta, Canada. Okay, thank you for watching us all the way from Alberta in Canada. A very happy birthday to you. Today is your birthday, Anna Na Amanua Ankra. I call you Anna. You're a very special person. I wish you the best of today as you hit that new milestone. God bless and keep you. You're a wonderful person. You take care and have a super day. Is there anything else you have to say right before we go?
Oh, no. Not
Our time is up.
Much. Yeah. I just like to say a very good morning to one of my friends in the U.S., Yesubu Kasim.
Hey, those of us with friends in the U.S.
Yeah. He and his wife and the little girl, Dr. Kondi. I say a very good morning to them. He has been a very good friend, a brother, since his time as the regional chairman for the Ghana Journalists Association in Kumasi.
Okay.
I worked briefly in Kumasi before I left for the Upper East.
Where have you not worked? Where have you not worked in this country? This segment brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They are offering free prostate screening, free female fertility screening. Reach out to them here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronoma Boy here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji Estate Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama Nzima. You can also call them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Just the start, though, of sports. Now, on Prime Take today, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi sits with the over to you man. We all know him, Joe Lati. That is up next on the show.
Yolati, my guest here on Prime Take. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. I feel honored, highly honored for you to have me in mind towards the end of my life. Right now I'm 96, and for you to be thinking of a 96-year-old man and then pack your camera and other accoutrements and come to talk to me is great. Very great.
You're not getting to the latter part of your life. In fact, you have many more years to live. You have got many more years to live. We need to tap on the knowledge that you've got, and you'll live for many more years.
Thank you for wishing me good.
Thank you very much. So what was your genesis like? Your upbringing?
The upbringing was rather strict, very strict. My dad, my mother were all leaders of the Methodist Church at Corlegono. They played a major role in the establishment of the Mount Zion Church of today. And my dad, as well as my mother, they were very strict. So strict that I had an English friend who nicknamed my dad as Killjoy Father. Killjoy. Because I wasn't allowed to do many things. I wasn't allowed to go to cinema. I wasn't allowed to do sports. I wasn't allowed to practice music. I remember very well that my brother-in-law, the man who married my sister, had an organ in his house, and he decided to teach me to play the organ. And I went to his house one night to learn to play the organ. When I came back, my dad gave me a good hiding. I was sick for about 2 weeks. Yeah. And you know, it made me very sad. Then I gave up the organ. Then at school, government school in Accra, I joined the school band and I was playing the side drum. So I was playing the side drum on the day the then Asante Hini visited Accra. And my dad was with an uncle of mine on top of what we call ABBA, AMA today. They were up there and they were watching the scene. And I came along playing the side drum with the band. And my father saw me. The next day he went to Accra Government Boys School where I was attending, went to the headmaster, H.M. Grant was the name, and told him to get me out of the band. And I was cashiered from the band immediately. I stopped playing the band. So many things. I wanted to play the mandolin. I brought a mandolin to the house, the old man saw it. He took it and broke it up. Then the owner came. The owner came demanding the mandolin. And he paid for it. And that was the end of my mandolin course. You know, very interesting, very strict. 7 o'clock, the gate to the house was locked with a big padlock. Nobody went out, nobody came in. You know, and I wasn't allowed to have friends. I didn't have friends. But the few friends that I had, my dad would always order 6 uniforms for school. 6. And I used to give them to my friends, give some of them to my friends over the wall. I threw it over, you know. So the childhood was pretty tough, very tough.
Very tough.
And it led in some way to my joining the British Navy at the age of 16.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did. I joined the British Navy at the age of 16. Went to war. I'm an ex-serviceman. And when they were banned, let me say we, because I was part of it, we marched to the castle, the 28th February incident. Yeah, I was part of it. I was in my naval uniform, small boy. My grandmother said, don't go, don't go, and I went. When the shooting took place and we ran back and I was trying to get back to the house, my grandmother said they should open the gate for interesting. So yeah, I'm an ex-serviceman. I had my medals. And I can tell you the story of my medals. I had a classmate from Accra Government Boys School. When I was transferred to teach at Latte, and I was at Latte teaching, and this friend of mine came to find out whether I could get him a job. I could get him into, you know, something to do. A day came, I left the house and went to school. By the time I got back, he had stolen everything of mine. My medals, my discharge certificate, everything. And he went with it to Koforidua. They got him. The police managed to get him. But they forgot to ask him about the things that he stole. So I lost all that, you know. And he was sent to prison in Akrupong. And funny enough, the day he was discharged and was going back to Accra, he was standing by the roadside waiting for a car. Yeah, and I was in the main truck leaving Latte for Accra, and I saw him. Interesting. I was very sad. He's dead long ago. You know.
Yeah.
So it's part of the adventures.
Were you the first child of your parents?
I was the first child of the two of them. Okay. But my father had some other children before he took my mother.
Your mother. Okay. So he was he in the military? Why was he so strict? Your father?
My father was a civil servant. A civil servant in the Treasury Department.
Okay.
Yeah. He served in Cape Coast, served in Tamale, you know, before he retired at the age of 54. In those days, they were retiring at that age.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Oh, okay. Okay. So tell me, do you have other siblings?
Yes, I have a number of siblings.
Oh, okay.
That is an aspect of my life which will appear in the memoir. I won't tell you.
Oh, you're writing a memo?
I'm writing a memo.
Oh, wow.
You know, my life without a memo will be like Shakespeare without Macbeth.
but how many siblings do you have?
Siblings?
Yeah.
Right now, I have two.
Okay.
A lady and a gentleman.
So how was it like with your siblings growing up?
Oh, well, in actual fact, when my father married my mother, they had me and a second one called Nate.
Okay.
And he died at the age of 7.
Oh.
So I was left alone. And because I was the only one between the two of them, that was one of the reasons why they were so strict. They wanted to ensure that I survived. And I think they were right. Here am I, 96. I've survived. My father died at 84. And I have lived up to 96. My mother died at 91. 91, my mother died. And I buried my mother. I buried my mother with the help of other siblings. And, you know, my mother also had 1 or 2 children before she met my dad.
Okay.
And I have a big picture of the two of them.
Yeah, I've seen it here.
Yeah, that's right.
I've seen it here. So tell me, how were you able to get yourself into the Navy when, despite how strict your father was?
Oh yeah, I ran away. I bolted. That's the word to use. I bolted from the house, from my family, and I worked it all out with friends. I went at that time during the war. The British Navy was recruiting some Ghanaians at Takoradi. I think they still have a base there, you know, Takoradi base. So we arranged. I was only 16, so we had to falsify my age, you know, so that I could get into the Navy. By the time they knew I didn't give them the correct age, it was too late. I had taken the oath, and therefore they couldn't get me out. So I continued until the end of the war. You know.
Which war was that?
The Second World War.
The Second World War?
Yeah, the Hitler War.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But what age did you give them? You were 16. What age did you give them?
23.
You give
23.
So you added 7 years your age.
And I had to brush my hair backwards to make me look old, and funny things we did. Funny things.
That's quite an interesting one. But at what point did you switch into sports? Because many of us know you for your broadcasting career.
My dad did not allow me to do sports. He didn't allow me, but I did sports. And when I started doing commentary, on GBC. He sent for me and he said, "Who taught you to play football?" I learned to play football partly in the Navy. When I came out and I went into teaching, I was also playing football, doing sports. So he was disappointed.
So when you came back from the Navy, did you go back to the house? Because you bolted to go to the Navy. Did you go back home?
Yes, I bolted, but I went to. My dad was streaking. He was, emaciated. I came. He had a big towel around his waist, and we embraced each other. He held me, and he said, he looked at me. I was in my naval uniform. He said, and I quote, he said, "I did not know that the Navy could make men out of boys," unquote. And then we shook hands and I started telling him the story, some of the things that I had done in the Navy. And it was a memorable occasion. I've never forgotten it.
So this one, when you came back, he didn't fight you?
No, he didn't fight me. He was happy I was back. Very happy. You don't know the things they did for me. Through a party and so on.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because it wasn't a joke.
The boy became a man.
Oh yeah, the prodigal son.
Yeah, the prodigal son actually. The prodigal son. But at the Navy, what was life at the Navy like?
Life in the Navy was interesting. Interesting. We were knocked out of our beds early in the morning around 5:30, and then we started doing all the necessary things. We have I don't know, it's no longer there, I'm sure. But we had a base in Freetown.
Yes.
The training center was called King Tom Barracks. That was where we trained. And then after training in King Tom, you were drafted to another barracks called Kisi.
Okay.
Kisi Barracks. That's just it's a shore base. And there you had all the ships and the other things, all the arrangements were there, So when you were recruited, or when you were recruited in those days in Takrady, then they transferred you to Freetown to do the training. Then after the training, they will be drafting you to that ship, this ship, and so on.
Okay.
And it was very interesting. And when you're drafted into a ship, maybe a big ship, and these were not merchant ships, they were warships. We had corvettes, we had destroyers, we had submarines, and and we had a big ship in Freetown called Philoctetes. Philoctetes was a supply ship. I was in the supply department.
Oh, okay.
So we're working, I was getting things from Philoctetes to the shore, to other ships and so on. Very interesting. They were very careful about our health. If you went to town and picked up a disease, you were cashiered straight away. I was discharged. Yeah. So it was interesting. We attended church services. They didn't play with that. We attended church services on board, ashore. We were attending church services. We had parades. And the Navy, what I liked about the Navy, they made sure that you had everything that you would need in the course of your service.
Oh, okay.
Your shoes, your clothing, your caps, your everything, your raincoat. You had a raincoat for warm weather, raincoat for
cold weather.
That for cold weather. And so when there was a parade, when we had a parade, there was no way you could say you couldn't attend. You dare not, And like I had in mind, the training and the discipline in the Navy was superior to what I had at home. So while others were complaining about the naval discipline, I was taking it easy.
Because your dad...
Because I'd been prepared for it inadvertently.
Yes, yes.
The old man didn't know he was preparing me for the Navy.
For the Navy, he didn't know that. But tell me about the World War II that you said you were a part of. Because considering a young man with strict parents, all of a sudden in the Navy, then there was the World War I. But how was it like?
Well, I went into the Navy because there was a World War I. I went into the Navy because because there was war. If there wasn't war at the time, I couldn't have gone into the Navy.
So you went into the war?
I was an Accra Academy doing my secondary school course.
Oh, okay.
And I ran away from the secondary school, Accra Academy, and joined the Navy, you know. And I joined the Navy because there was war, and they were recruiting. What they did was they wanted Africans who could stand the weather, the tropical weather. That's why they recruited some of us here. So immediately the war ended, we were discharged.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You know, yeah.
So after the war, you were discharged?
Yeah, that's right. I came back. That's why I came home.
Oh, okay.
And then went to report to my dad. And there he was, grieved, but he was happy to see me back.
Yeah.
You know,
prodigal son. He will always be happy. But you said, despite the strictness of your parents, for you not to do sports, for you not to do music, you still got into sports. What sort of sport did you do?
Football. I was a very poor footballer. Yeah. When I trained, I went to do my teacher training at Winneba, the Winneba Training College. Yeah. It was then brand new, fresh. We were the first intake.
Like the pioneers of that?
Yeah, pioneers of that. Yeah. And during the period in the training school, we were playing football. We were doing sports.
Oh, okay.
Because as a teacher, you should know sports. You're going to teach children. You know, so I was
now you had the freedom from your parents to participate in sports.
I mean, then I was a man.
You were now a man.
That's right. So my parents didn't come into the picture.
Yeah, I see.
You know,
I see.
I had, you know, after the war, after the Second World War, when those of us who were discharged, both from the Navy, the Army, and the Air Force, we had to be given jobs in civil streets.
Oh, okay.
That is at home. And the jobs were not there. And that was why we organized a march to the Osu Castle to tell the governor that we needed jobs. We held a rally at the Palladium Cinema House. You know the Palladium, very near the Methodist Cathedral. Yeah. That's right. We met there. And from there we started a march to the castle. Now when we got to the crossroads, there was this man, Emery, and a white man. He was in charge of a platoon of Jane Roe policemen to stop us going to the castle. And he ordered them to shoot, but they refused to. So he took the rifle from one of them and shot Ajete and the rest. So from that point, we started running back to Accra. And it was something that you should see, not described.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll give you the details in my memo.
But that might have been some scary experience, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it was a scary week. That was when the looting started. There was looting, shooting.
Okay.
And the looting went on for weeks. So they brought troops from Nigeria to law and everything broke down in Accra, in Ghana. So they brought troops from Nigeria to control us in Ghana. It was interesting. And these chaps came, they robbed our people, they were searching houses and so on. They robbed our families before they went away. There was rumor that on their way back they drowned in the Volta River. But it's a story that I never I never confirmed. Yeah.
Okay. That's quite an interesting one.
Yeah.
But let's move to your professional career.
That's right.
I think we heard a lot about your journalism career.
Yeah.
How did it start?
Well, it started like most people. You start writing a little bit on your own, maybe writing to the newspapers. In our time, in the days that we had Azikiwe, who became a president in America, Nnamdi Azikiwe. He was in Ghana.
Oh, really?
And he was one of the people.
One of them is the former Nigerian leader.
Oh yes, he was here, and he was one of the people who opened the eyes of the Ghanaian youth to independence. They started clamoring for, this and that during his time here. So the British government in Ghana cashiered him. They sent him out of Ghana. They took him to court, charged him with. They gave him a charge of sedition or something, and they deported him from Ghana. And my eldest brother, he was interested in Azikiwe. He was one of the apostles of Azikiwe, And from that association, I learned a lot from my eldest brother, G. Ankra.
Okay.
So Azikiwe left Ghana, and after he left, things started taking. We had newspapers. He was in charge of one of the newspapers in Ghana. I think it was the Morning Post.
Okay.
He was editing, and his editorials were stinking. He was, bamboozling the British colonial system, and they didn't like him. So I think they managed to get him out. He left Ghana, and people were sorry, So from there, I started having ideas about journalism, how to write. And my eldest brother gave me a little bit of tuition, allowed me to read. And when I was in the Navy, interesting, when I was in the Navy, we were running shifts. On the ship, we ran shifts, morning shift, afternoon shift, night shift, and so on. And during our free time, when we weren't on duty, we practiced public speaking.
Oh, okay.
So we wrote topics on pieces of paper, folded them, put them into a hat, and then when you picked a subject, then you had to speak on it. That was the beginning of my interest in public speaking. And when I came, I was discharged. There was a shop in Accra, Luther Street.
Yes.
There was a bookshop there. That was where I bought my first public speaking book, called Public Speaking and Influencing Men in Business. That's the title of a book. So it developed. One interesting.
From one stage to the other.
Oh, yeah. So I learned to do sport outside my home. I learned to do sport outside my home. And it helped me. You see, because later in my life, I managed I got a friend, an American Peace Corps retired fellow. The two of us, we brought Toastmasters to Ghana. And Toastmasters today, we have about 30 clubs in Ghana.
Oh, wow.
Teaching people how to speak without fear, without hesitation.
So before you got into journalism fully, in fact, which year did you get into journalism?
I can't tell you. The beginning was checkered.
Yeah.
So I can't say exactly, but I got into it. I never went to the training school here.
Yeah.
The Institute of Journalism. I organized my first public speaking course in Institute of Journalism.
Meanwhile, you never attended the school?
24th May, 19 something. I've forgotten it.
Yeah, I can understand. Yeah. But there was this interesting story about one Richard Akwe.
Okay. Richard Akwe.
Yes.
The Lion Heart.
The Lion Heart.
That's right.
Tell us about him, because we are made to understand that, like, he was one of the founding fathers of Ghana football.
Yeah, correct. He played a major role, and he and one Adakwa from Ashanti, they played a major role in the founding and development of especially the league system. It took a lot of time for the league system to operate as we are doing it today. They will start, it will collapse, they will start, it will collapse, and so on. So it wasn't easy. And Richard Akwe, the Lionheart, he was chairman. They put him there as chairman, and he was very strict. Maybe, I'm saying maybe, he was dictatorial in some of his activities, but there he was. And he played a good role, helping to make football or soccer a thoroughly good thing. Yeah, that's right. So we respected him. He founded a school. He had a school in Accra, a very big school. I think the school is still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I remember reading about the football history of Ghana, where in the 1940s, he accused Kofi Bedu of using his pen to get him out of power, because the Black Stars then were supposed to go to the UK for some friendly games.
For a tour, yeah.
Yes.
Well, Kofi Bedu had a pen that I think we haven't had again in journalism in Ghana. He was a terrific writer. And if you ask me, I'll say he had a poisonous pen. Yeah. When Dr. Buzia became Prime Minister of this country, his writings were some of the factors that got Buzia out.
Wow.
Oh yeah, he could write, and his command of English language, superb. Quite recently I wrote to him, I wanted to visit the Asante Hini, and he never wrote back, I don't know why.
Maybe he's still busy. Maybe when he hears this, he'll call you. Maybe when he hears this, he will call you. But talk to us about the football history. You spoke about the Lion Heart, where, like I mentioned, he accused Kofi Bedu of using his pen to get him out of power. He just mentioned that his pen was too poisonous. So the poisonous pen got Richard Akwe out of power. Then a champion, right?
Oh, well, after Richard Akwe, a whole lot of things happened.
Yeah.
Development of the, one time good, another time bad, and so on. Till we've now been able to study to make the league system work.
But I understand, were you in journalism?
I was in journalism from '61, professionally.
Oh, okay.
That was when I joined the GBC.
Yeah.
And initially, I wasn't going to be with the sports department. I was sent to the talks and features department. Talks and features, and I was writing stories and editing stories that other people wrote from outside. Editing them because I had a teaching experience, and they thought my English was good, so I was doing this editing. Then somebody took ill in the sports department, and a man called Festus died. He joined the army later, so he ended up as Colonel Adai. He was in charge of the sports department. The sports department was known as the outside broadcast department. The outside broadcast department, which we call the OBs, the outside broadcast department contained the sports department. So the real name of the department that I later joined was OBs. OBs, the main thing they did was sports and ceremonials.
Oh, okay.
You get it? So somebody fell sick in the OBs department and was out of work. And I was asked to go on relieving duties at the OBs. So I went. And after I had, the man was about returning to the department, Festus Adai refused to let me go back because he thought I was a good material for the OB's department. And there was a tug of war between him and the head of programs, a very tough guy called Joe Gatti, not Lati, Joe Gatti. Okay. He was the head of programs. And they tussled. Eventually, Festus won the tussle. And I was asked to stay in the OB's department. Then I took up the commentary, and I'm telling you the story of how the Over to You developed. Yeah. My boss was Colonel Festus Adai. He was a very good commentator. He had a very good voice. I always tell people he had a velvet voice, beautiful voice. And he saw what I could do. So anytime there was a commentary, something to be done, sports and ceremonial, I shared the commentary with him. He would start, or he would ask me to start, tell people about the scene, and then when I finished with the scene, he would take over. I say, over to you, Festus. When he finished his bit, he would say, over to you, Joe. And we covered a number of interesting. When Temahaba was commissioned, we did a commentary. When the Queen visited Ghana the first time, he and I and somebody from BBC called Godfrey Talbot, we were sitting on a tall scaffolding at the airport. When the Queen arrived, she came in a Boeing 707. And when the plane stopped and she descended, she said, I am here at last. Unquote. I am here at last. Why? Because the visit of a queen to Ghana that time kicked up a lot of national debate. Should she come or not come? Should she come or not come? And it went forwards and backwards. Halfway through the process, the Queen was pregnant, she had a baby, and so couldn't come. And finally, the Queen came. So when she landed in this tropical, she said, I am here at last. And then the chiefs with the umbrellas, the exhaust from the 707 was blowing their umbrellas. And the whole place was agog. Wow. That was one of the interesting topics, interesting ceremonials that we covered.
Now, give us a brief history of Ghana football.
Well, Ghana football started quite a long time ago. It was one Britain. He was headmaster of government school in Cape Coast. He started the thing, and he recruited a few local boys, and they were practicing under moonlight and so on. And bit by bit, it developed until Accra Hearts of Oak came in. Then there was Stanfast. Stanfast died. For a very long time, we had Hearts of Oak and Stanfast. But Stanfast is gone. Stanfast is now Olympics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it went on like that. We had problems with coaching. So when Ohinijam became the sports director, as I told you, Kwame Nkrumah was interested in sport. And he knew Ohinijam was interested in sport and was doing it. He was around Richard Akwe and so.
Oh, okay.
In Sawam. He was doing football from Sawam. And he was there. So when Richard Akwe gave way, there was this one. Then we had problems with coaching. So director of sports.
So Richard Akwe gave way to Ohinijam.
Let me say, Richard Akwe's period passed off, and then a new period with Ohinijam in it. Adakwa in Cape Coast, in Sawam. No, Adakwa was in Ashanti.
Oh, okay.
And then they picked up the the loose ends and started developing it. And Ohinijanti Delot, he was more or less acting at the instructions of Nkrumah. You know, they brought in the Real Madrid. Nkrumah personally organized that part of our history in football and brought the Real Madrid to Ghana. They played against the Black Stars. It ended up in a 3-3 draw, you see, and it went on then. Ohinijan developed, we were told at the instruction of Kwame Nkrumah, he developed the Republicans. Real Madrid came, then we had the Republicans. And the Republicans brought a lot of problems. You know, people, they were picking the best from each of the league clubs, and people didn't like it.
Mabo, 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 nyame bofwe, mabo, media sumjena mabo, mabo, media sumjena mabo, mabo. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I'm about to share my blunt thoughts with you this morning, but when I sing the song I did, for those of you who don't understand tree, it's because I come in peace with a little bit of violence, like we say here. Peace to the masses, violence or violence, if you like, to whom the cap fit. This morning I've titled my blunt thoughts, Barefaced Thievery, Brazen Arrogance, and the Crisis of Leadership, the beginning of the end. Permit me to start, Ghana for, by reflecting on some of what Professor P.L.O. Lumumba, a renowned lawyer and activist, has been sharing with us in recent times as he spoke about our former president, may so rest in peace, John Evans Atta Mills. He said, we are celebrating President Atta Mills because he taught us that it is not how long you serve, but how well you serve that matters. Some people today are talking about breaking the 8. To do what, exactly? More damage to us as a people? What they couldn't do in 8 years, will they now somehow have the magic wand to wave to work miracles on the back of an IMF program? Will they? Again, PLO Lumumba says, African leaders are arrogant and corrupt, unlike Professor Mills, who can be remembered for his short but good service. Good service, not the sheer arrogance and power drunkenness that we've seen this administration display, right from Mr. President down to even DCEs. That is not the way to go. Mr. President slammed the chief for asking, for a free SHS facility. He slammed another chief with a medical condition for not standing up during the singing of the national anthem. When his daughter did it, that was very okay. As for that insidiously arrogant DCE who wanted to send a police officer to Enchi for merely doing his job, the least said about him, the better. This state of affairs makes one thing very clear. There is a different set of standards or laws for the political class or the political elite and a distinct one for the masses, you and me. That is why some anti-graft crusaders have insisted, especially on the back of the glaring integrity painting acceptance letter to Cecilia Abnadaper's resignation, that nothing will come of all these so-called investigations into whatever she may have done. Which is what brings me now to my slides. And I'll play 2 videos for you today. But let's hasten slowly. Let's go slowly. $1 million, the Cecilia Dapa theft saga. Let's go into the details. $1 million plus what? 300,000 euros. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we'll quickly get there. 300,000 euros. Next slide. Then again, Ghana cedis, 350,000. Next slide. Then 6 pieces of assorted kente cloth, if you like, at the cost of 90,000 Ghana cedis. Next slide. Then, the suits as well for her husband. 6 sets of men's suits valued at some $3,000 each. Let's go to the next slide. But there's more. Assorted clothes worth about 95,000 Ghana cedis. Some people in this country will not even see 95,000 Ghana cedis before they die. That is just someone's, that is part of her wardrobe. What was stolen, not what is left. Next slide. And then again, assorted handbags, $35,000 worth. It's not to say that people don't do this, but when you're a politically exposed person, when you're in office, the dynamics are different. Yeah, the benchmark is higher. Next slide, but that's not all. There's also jewelry. Assorted perfumes, there's $1,400. And all right, Cecilia, Auntie Cecilia, it'll be okay. Let's go to the next one. There's jewelry as well. $95,000 worth of jewelry. All into thin air. Thanks to those staff at home who decided pilfering was the way to go. Let's go to the next slide. Now, $1 million, what can it do? It can fill a table, but there's more it can do in terms of our national dynamics. Come with me. You will find out what $1 million can do and how serious the situation is, why we need to get to the bottom of this matter. Now, in terms of the allocations to different sectors of our economy, allocation, item, Child or Human Trafficking Fund, we gave them 1 million cedis. And mind you, keep in mind that $1 million is the equivalent, as of today, of 11.3 million Ghana cedis. So Child or Human Trafficking Fund, 1 million Ghana cedis. Mental Health Fund, 1.406 million. Operation Vanguard, that is the anti-galamsey operations, and RegSec, that is the Regional Security Council, 3.2 million Ghana cedis. The Green Ghana Project, 2.5 million. Cybersecurity Authority, 1.7 million. Cybersecurity Domestic Violence, 1 million. Actually, if you add all of these together, you get 10.86 million Ghana cedis. It is still less than the $1 million that was stolen from Cecilia Dapa in terms of value, because then we would have 431,480 cedis left. That is what $1 million is. This is what it means. But let me break it down even further. In the lives of ordinary Joes, Ama, Kofi, Ama, Ya, Kweku, this is what it means. Let's go to the next slide. This is what it means. A senior university lecturer who earns about 10,000 Ghana cedis a month needs to work for 1,180 months or 94 years to get $1 million. 94 years. A junior university lecturer who earns about 5,000 cedis a month needs to work for 188 years to get 1 million. A graduate teacher at secondary or basic school who earns about 3,000 Ghana cedis a month needs to work for 313 years to get $1 million. A diploma teacher who earns about 2,500 a month needs to work for 377 years to arrive at $1 million. A junior medical doctor who earns about 10,000 Ghana cedis a month needs to work for 94 years. Let's go to the next slide to get $1 million. A senior nurse or midwife who earns about 8,000 a month needs to work for 118 years. A well-paid journalist in Ghana who earns about 12,000, that's even on the high side. We know what it is. About 12,000 a month needs to work for 78 years. By that time, no go. To make $1 million. $1 million can buy 240 taxi cabs. 240. $1 million can build 14 6-unit classroom blocks to reduce schools under trees in our rural areas. 14 6-unit blocks, school blocks. Look at how many schools we have under trees. Now, the interesting part for me, Cecilia Dapa's monthly salary as a minister, we checked everything, okay, is around 30,206 Ghana cedis. And that is per the Professor Ya Ntiamwa Beidu emolument report, 2017 to 2021. So we sourced it from there. 30,206 Ghana cedis. She needs to work for 31 years to get $1 million. How long was she at post again? Okay. Next slide. Now, before I get into this, I want you to watch this video up next. It shows Cecilia Abnadapa in Parliament when there was the probe about COVID-19 funding and how much had gone to the Sanitation and Water Resources Ministry when she was still minister. These were her responses. Pay attention.
Mr. Chairman, the component for my ministry is $43 million, and I think I spoke about it earlier. That is to take care of the Odo Basin, to clean it up and to cap the heaps of waste that that we see around the basin. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You claim that your ministry had 43 million out of the $200 million. How was that 43 million applied?
Mr. Chairman, I have given the components out is to cap about 5 heaps around Tantan and then the Odo Basin. And it's also to clean up the Odo Basin to make the channels open for water to flow in. Yes.
Were you satisfied with those answers from Cecilia Abnadapa? Were you satisfied? Former Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources. Well, I wasn't either. Yet she got clean away without Parliament doing a lot more digging to get her to deliver a better account of how she had expended our $43 million of COVID-19 cash. What am I saying? What am I insinuating? I'm neither saying nor insinuating anything. But you can read between the lines, if you will. Like Jesus with the masses of his day, apart from his followers, that is. I shall speak to you in parables only. You do the math. You go work it out for yourselves. But let's also watch this second video from Newsfile on November the 9th, 2013. You see, why am I digging up some of these things? Because the rhetoric today of those in power versus the rhetoric then of those in opposition speaks volumes. And that is the circus we play in this country. In opposition, they see all kinds of nice things. NDC, MPP. But when they come to power, that confusion I have. This is Ursula Owusu-Ekufo on that day and what she said about accountability, probity. Listen to
her. Talk about making money. Do you think that there's a need to investigate that? You think that's necessary?
Absolutely. I think that for starters, and I've said that in other words, we need to start with a lifestyle audit. We need to start with a lifestyle audit of our people in positions of authority. You heard President Mills saying that if SEPS officials are able to build a house in 3 years, then it means they're corrupt. What about government officials, whose only official source of income is their salary, acquiring property in 3-4 years? Isn't that worth investigating?
But the thing that Professor Mills spoke about, and God bless his soul, we know them, we just play ostrich, don't we?
That is why I'm saying that we shouldn't just pay lip service to it and say things that we want people to hear. But we should move beyond that and start with a lifestyle audit of our people in positions of authority.
Oh, you are? And you're going to you. Wano, okay. Ursula Owusu-Ekufo, I greet you this morning. As I wrap, that is why we need the Conduct of Public Officers law. This bill is on our books. The bill, when passed into law, would prevent the issue of public officers having unexplained wealth with the laws of the country seemingly impotent in dealing with it. That's, Occupy Ghana and recently what they've been pushing for. The approval of the bill has been stalled by Cabinet. Let's get to the next slide. By Cabinet. By Cabinet. Why? We need that law. We do. And just to wrap up the conversation, as we talk about money matters and all of that, even now, if you look at the state of our debt, look, over the last few, this is how I'll wrap, and then the next slide, our public debt has increased by 20.3% in terms of billions of Ghana cedis on the back of the latest Bank of Ghana dynamic. So from December 2022, 473.2 billion, now it is at 569.3 billion. That's our current debt. An increment of 96.1 billion Ghana cedis, 20.3% increment. That is where we find ourselves as a country. While some people are keeping cash cool in their houses, we are going to pay the debt. We haven't benefited. Next slide. Now, in terms of how much this means, look, the Ghana Jollof Index, I found this interesting. The cost of cooking jollof has increased. Yeah. So in January 2023, you would have spent 277.75 cedis. In February, it was at 286. March, 280. It fell. April, 277. Now, if you're cooking for a family of 5, a household of 5, you would spend 317 cedis, 50 pesos. Basically. A day. Common jollof rice we go chop. Hey! Well, this is the picture. This is the reality. The videos speak for themselves. I have nothing more to say. You judge for yourselves. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts that I've shared with you this morning. Go and reflect on them. I pray for Ghana. I pray for our motherland. May God bless our country and make her great and strong. It's AM show time, and in case you missed out, well, we're still here on the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. But before we proceed with our next conversation, water is life. If you're a man, about 61% of your body is made up of water. If you're a woman, slightly less. And that is why we need to take water, a lot of it every day, about 2 liters every day, to keep our organs, our brain, our heart, everything, the blood flowing properly. That is why I'd like to introduce you to premium purified water, aka Awake Purified Drinking Water. It is processed through a strict purification system to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. And if you're thinking of sizes, 330 milliliters, the kids, they are good to go. 500 milliliters, 750 milliliters, 1.5 liters, everybody is covered. But maybe you're thinking, I need something for my office or something bigger for my home. Why are sorted, cry? 19-liter jar bottles, they're ideal for you. Awake Purified Water, you can use them in your dispenser and you're good to go. All you need to do now is drink Awake Purified Drinking Water every day. And here's the most heartwarming aspect for me. Cardiothoracic stuff, heart disease, it's really expensive. Now, for every bottle of Awake Purified Drinking Water you buy, an amount is donated to the kitty of the National Cardiothoracic Center so that those who can't afford treatment can get it. Isn't that a human thing to do? It's another quality product by Casapreco Company Limited. If you'd like to purchase in bulk, call 0262 351 251. 0262 351 251. It, of course, this advert is FDA approved. But let's get into that all-important conversation. Which camps have been banned? If you go to Kukuo, Batinga, among other places in our country, these have become prominent over the decades. There is that new resolution in Parliament on the back of Francis Xavier Sosu's bill, the Member of Parliament for Medina. But what do we know as of now? Joining the conversation, we have Professor John Azuma. He is Executive Director of the SANE Institute. We also have Francis Xavier Sosu, Member of Parliament for Medina, and our very own editor here at Joy News, Jojo Kobina. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the AM show.
Good morning.
Okay, so
good morning.
Right. So we have. Did I hear Francis Xavier? All right. So we have Professor John Azuma together with Jojo Kobina. Jojo, where do you find yourself currently? And tell us about. I know you're excited about this. We're all excited about it. I can see the look on your face already. But tell us what this means, not just for you, but those in those communities where witch camps have been prevalent. What does all of this mean?
It means so much. Yesterday, when the news broke that Parliament had, passed the bill, where I was over the moon. I was excited because I was monitoring. I'm on the coalition page. We have a coalition page, Coalition Against Witchcraft Accusations. And so when the news dropped, we were all excited. I was very excited because it took me back to the very first time that I went to the witch camp. That was in 2008 to do a story. It took me back to a woman I interviewed who told me a story and said she walked for 2 days before she got to the camp because the people wanted to lynch her. She was walking barefoot to that particular place. It took me to Ngani Witch Camp in 2008 when they didn't have boreholes in that community. And so they had to trek all the way to the Oti River to fetch water. It took me to that moment where the woman was trekking and barefoot, and during in the intense harmattan, we see her foot badly cracked, and she had no helper. She had no child to help her carry water, and so she stopped several times before she eventually got water and returned. It took me to a woman who a building collapsed on. She was in a room and the hut was so weak and soaked because it had rained, and so it collapsed on her and they came to rescue her. It took me to a woman called Nakuma who tried shaving her own hair and then using a razor, and you could see cuts, like she was virtually cut in her scalp because she said she had headache and she had no helper and she was doing it. It took me to the Kuku camp where the woman went to the marketplace to fetch, to sweep the market, gather grains, sift sand from the grains, washed it, and then came to prepare a meal to eat. So these are stories that, are very heartbreaking. I have been there several times. I remember telling my coalition members that I don't want to do another witch camp story. I have done the story on many occasions, visited the camps, witch camps, many times. I remember focusing on one particular angle where even the camp managers were even extorting money from the women, would charge the women for accommodation, especially when the women come in there, it wasn't their own choice. They had their own places where to live. And then people giving them, accusing them of doing funny things, especially one story that really struck with me was a woman said she was in Accra managing her own business, and then she got a call that someone had died and so she should come. So she should come, return to the village. When she got there, they told her that one boy had died from an accident, and so she's the cause. And that was just it. This was someone who was hustling in Accra. Come to Accra, come to the village, and then come for your funeral. She came, and then she was ostracized, sent to the village. So all these stories that we have sort of babied, we have sat down, we have sort of kept quiet over because it is cultural. But largely, many women are suffering and have been suffering over the years.
Jojo, just I'm sorry I have to truncate your line of thought. Interesting stories you're bringing to bear. Interestingly, we also have the proponent of that bill, Francis Xavier Sosu, Member of Parliament for Medina. I don't want to lose him, so let me go to him. But, I find it very disturbing. As I was watching the live feed, guess what I saw? So one Alhaj Tanko Mbanya, and I'm doing this for educational purposes, now writes, this is nonsense. So Parliament wants the witches to kill us. We'll never accept that. Alhaj Mbanya, how do you prove someone is a witch? In which court? In which jurisdiction? Francis Xavier Sosua, a very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you too, and a very good morning to your cherished viewers.
And you see, these are the problems we face. Alhaj Mbanya, I just read out the comment before coming to you, so you would be able to react to it. But what does it mean to you as a proponent, or if I may say, chief proponent of this bill, now that we have this amendment?
First of all, I think I want to recognize and acknowledge the work of the entire Parliament of the Republic of Ghana and the work of the Right Honourable Speaker, Bagbin, who has taken some personal interest in some of these matters and also committed to ensure that we change the narrative of Ghana when it comes to some of these matters. And I would also commend the effort of the majority leader, the minority leader, as well as the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, and all those who have worked so hard on this draft department led by Sana Achu, worked tirelessly to ensure that we've gotten this far. So it's a product of many people and all the sponsors who were part of the process. And when I talk about the sponsors, I'm talking about Dr. Gisao, Honorable Betty, Honorable Ntosu, and all the others who have worked so hard to ensure that we've gotten this far. And I think congratulations to everyone and congratulations to Ghana. I think that comments like that definitely part of the reasons why we needed a law like this, because to change society and to reform the mind of people require a multifaceted approach. One of them will be education, but education must be based on something. And I think that law is a tool for social engineering, is a tool to shift the parts of society and to shift the minds of people. And I believe that a law like this has set the right tone, changed the mind of persons like the one who just sent in the text. Because if you look at this bill, the bill
Alhaj Mbanya is his name.
Yeah, Alhaj Mbanya, and the bill is not seeking to even outlaw the existence or non-existence of witchcraft. We are not seeking to criminalize freedom of thought and freedom of religion and whatever a person may choose to believe. I think what this bill has done simply is to ensure that all our beliefs and customary practices would be in sync with the 1992 Constitution and would ensure that those beliefs and practices are not injurious to other citizens. In this case, we have seen that the women who are held in servitude in various witch camps are there because of a single belief, a belief which translates into positive action, and the belief is enough. But when you go beyond your belief to now positively accuse and label other people and seek to use all kinds of ordeal process of proving or attempting to establish the said accusation, that has led to the death of many. Many have been excluded from their homes. They fled their homes. Many have left their properties and caused many so much harm, including death. And so we must understand that there will always be an interplay between culture and law. But when you take the 1992 Constitution, particularly Article 26, it makes it very clear. 26.2 says that all customary practices which dehumanize or are injurious to the physical and mental well-being of a person are prohibited. And so the laws are just enacted to regularize these practices and whatever we believe in to ensure that people are not endangered.
Just let me find out from you, though. There's another side. I have to reflect the different aspects of this conversation. Some too have said, this is systemic. It has happened over decades, if not over centuries. This witch situation, I mean, you can go to the Salem witch hunts and what happened back then. It's a similar thing here. And sometimes people are killed and we can't even find the perpetrators. But it's also been said, Francis Xavier Sosu, to conclude with you, that this is also some sort of haven for those who are declared witches. In other words, while the law now says that you can't label someone a witch, there may be incidents where some of these things may happen. It's like FGM, female genital mutilation. What then do we do? Because these were places where those people could run to. By taking that away, what would it mean? What systems, legally speaking, are we putting in place?
Well, I think that that view was shared with us when we went on site to visit all those places. And so we are not lost on those views at all. What we have said is that, the reasons why people end up in those camps is the accusation and the labeling. And so once you take away and you criminalize that accusation and you criminalize the labeling, then those camps will naturally run dry, because you are truncating the process of creating camps and the process of getting people into places like that. Indeed, historically, the essence of those camps were to provide some haven for persons who have been labeled or accused. However, when you go to site and you actually visit these camps, like I have been, to some of these camps with our stakeholders and other sponsors of this bill, it is obvious that these women are being held in servitude. That's one. Secondly, they live in very, very deplorable, dehumanizing condition. And most of these women who may either be farmers formally or may be doing their own maybe trade, they suddenly lose the opportunity to trade. They lose the opportunity to farm. And now they end up in these camps, either working at the mercy of persons who otherwise are supposed to protect them. And these people turn out to be predators. And when we had a chance to speak one-on-one with a lot of the women in these camps, you could see that they are not happy being there. Of course, the law makes room for reintegration, which is supposed to be led by the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. That reintegration may be multifaceted, supported by the various CSOs that supported this work. It could be that some of those camps, which have become like communities, could be reformed. We could have alternative livelihood opportunities for them. And those who are willing and ready to move to their homes or to be resettled in other places, we ensure that they are resettled in those places. The whole essence of the law is to, protect the most vulnerable, because when you go to the top there, the people who are mostly accused to be witches are very, very vulnerable people.
Well, thank you, Francis Xavier Sosu. So moving forward, when can we expect this to kick in? Just briefly, very briefly. When can we expect this to kick in?
We are hoping that the President would assent to these bills sooner. And once the bills are assented to, there's going to be the coalition against the witchcraft accusation is going to have a number of programs for sensitization on the bill.
Francis Xavier Sosu is a Member of Parliament for Medina and a chief proponent of that bill. Thank you for joining the conversation. Let me now bring in Professor John Azuma, Executive Director of the Sane Institute. Prof, what is your take? How does it make you feel now that we've got to this point? We were on the cusp of it. Now we have crossed the Rubicon. It's left with Mr. President to give his assent to the bill so it becomes law. What does this mean?
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. This means a lot. It means a lot for me personally, but it means even a lot more for Ghana. Yesterday, when this bill was passed, I felt proud to be Ghanaian. Until that, whenever I thought about the witchcraft accusations, the lynchings, and the camps, it made me so ashamed to be Ghanaian. That's only in Ghana that you have this throughout the world. You reference to the fact that this has existed in human society for generations and for centuries. But in many societies, it has been criminalized that you cannot call somebody a witch. And those societies have moved on, but Ghana was still stuck there for all this time. And I am so glad, because I remember when Ekuya Dente was lynched, exactly 3 years this week. 3 years this week, Ekuya Dente was lynched. We sent a petition to Parliament. The Sani Institute sent a petition to Parliament. We sent petition to many other places. That was 2019. And
hello, Prof. Okay, we'll try to get Prof's connection working again and we'll get back to him. But Jojo, so you were making quite some interesting points.
I'm thankful to Honorable former Speaker.
All right, Prof, we can hear you, but in bits and pieces, in patches, really. So just hold for us and let's try to rework that connection. Jojo, so you've heard Francis Xavier Sosu, and I was reflecting the other side, those who had said that, look, the witch camps are a sort of haven for these people. Now, with what Francis Xavier Sosu has said, does that give you comfort that these people will finally be safe?
Yes. I mean, these concerns were raised when we went there. I was with Francis Xavier Sosu when we went to we visited the witches camp. That was when they were trying to get insight into activities of the camp and then the various concerns people there. See, let me tell you something. There is an economic benefit to, people being there. The people who express these concerns, who have been expressing these concerns, are not even the inmates who are there. They are the people, the custodians of the camp. Because number one, they use many of these women to farm. They use them as labor to farm. Many of these women, when they come, there are rituals that are performed, and when rituals are performed, definitely you pay a token. So there is an economic benefit. There's money that you pay, you pay on it. There's a token that you pay. Thirdly, when you are leaving, if, for example, a family member wants to have you back in the community, you pay a huge sum. You pay gold, you pay a lot of money before what you are released. That is another factor. Third factor, many of these women, when we even spoke to the women, some of them even had children with camp operators. You understand? Many of them even had children with camp operators. And some of them said, well, it wasn't consensual. So you can imagine, there are people who were really the custodians of the camp, benefited intensely from the process. So definitely, they would not be happy. And I remember, and Ace also would remember, one of the people said, so you people want to stop the flow, like cut the flow. That is to stop women from coming there again. And we said yes. And they said, oh, so what would happen if someone is accused? I said, yes, well, if someone is accused, this is where the law will take effect. So, people saying that, well, people need that place as a haven. Yes, I remember when we were discussing it together as a team, we were talking about, okay, making sure that social welfare department becomes very active here, where the shelters will be created. So it would not be that dehumanizing center. Because see, these women have no food. They are sent there, no one gives them food. no one pays attention to them. Nothing ever happens. They have to struggle to eat. Some will have to go to the market and go and beg, and then sometimes people would have to go and give them some money. Presbyterian churches and many other churches will go there and give them food on the benevolence of other people before they eat. The state is supposed to even give them leave. Yes, the state used to do that, but I mean, if you check right now, they owe them, last year, for example, they owed them over 6-8 months of leave. They were not paying them. They were not giving them their leave. So we consistently, we have sort of dehumanized this woman. We have contributed to the suffering of the women over the years. So it is an exciting, move to cut off the source, that is, to stop the accusations. Once the accusation stops, the women will not be running into the camps, and then the camps will eventually dry out, and then the women will be free, and then would have ended something that has existed for centuries.
Jojo, so there are interesting comments I am seeing today, and I'm just going to reflect on all of them so we have a better appreciation of also understanding the minds of those who think this is wrong. For example, this one, and I'll read the Bible because the person says, Kofi Light says, the Bible says, kill the witches. Human beings say no. That is what Kofi Light is saying. Now, when you look at Exodus 22, indeed, the King James Version says, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. It goes on and on. But you see, sometimes when we pick and choose without contextualizing, that is where the problem is. And this was situated in a specific context at a specific time. In the New Testament, Jesus would come and say, and I'm not here to proselytize, but Jesus would say, even forgive your enemies and pray for them. So I think, Jojo, the problem is much more deep-seated, deep-rooted than we think. And that is my problem. That even with the passage of the bill, just as with female genital mutilation that later we made female circumcision and all of that, some people, the understanding is still not there.
Akako, you see, when you go to the witches' camp, and you talk to the women, and they tell you what they have been through, your move will change, your perception, your mind, you'll have a whole radical mind shift. See,
do you think that will happen to these people who are sending these messages?
Hello?
The people sending these messages, do you think that will happen to them if they went to the camp to see for themselves what happens there?
Yes, I think they need to go there, because see, now the entire fate, the course of a person's life depends on how a chicken dies. I mean, that is how ridiculous it is. And number two, see, when you get to the camp and then they perform these rituals, and then the rituals even exonerates the woman. That the Tindana will say, she's not a witch. I mean, she's not a witch, and so allow her to go home. The people would say, no, they don't want her. And one woman actually said, well, I'm very successful. My husband died. I sell pito. I have a lot of money. And so it was a way of getting my property, because, I mean, if I'm not there, people can just go into and take my stuff. You see, what we have done is allowed the system to fester, where someone can just wake up one day and say that you're a witch. And then they haul you before the place. And even when you even pass the test to show that you're not a witch, it happens. At Sakogu, for example, there was this woman who was accused of being a witch, and they went to Gambaga witch camp. The overlord ruled that no, she wasn't a witch, so she was brought back home. And they went to still attack her with machete, and they cut off her hand. I mean, it was part of the Hunting the Witch Hunters, Finding the Witch Hunters documentary that I did. This is where the process, even when the process has exonerated people. So it is just a way of, taking people's lives away from them. And that is, the people don't know the stories. They think that, it is just frivolous things that happen. No, there are real people who have been to the camps, people who live in the camps, who even if the rituals will say they are not witches, and they are still even kept there. But I mean, who proves who is a witch? I mean, what is that? Is it who proves?
Yeah.
So imagine,
I mean, in a court of law, for example, that is part of the problem. I mean, how in a court of law do you establish that someone is practicing sorcery, the person is a witch, and that the person is directly responsible or indirectly responsible for another person's misfortunes? But you see, in a system like ours, where you have rampant unemployment and others, the least thing that happens to someone, once you have a woman, poor woman in there who is a little over a certain age, that person is going to be victimized. And even in that one too, we are sexist. Because oftentimes you would hear of witches. Rarely would you hear of wizards. The wizards are also in there. Sometimes there is talk about them. But it is mostly witches. And our poor women are victimized.
Yeah. And so, you see, that's the reason why I've been saying, okay, for example, imagine we go to the northern region, somewhere in the northern region, and then I accuse you of being a witch, and all of a sudden a wizard, and then people come for you, and they drag you to the ritual, and then you akaku. All of a sudden, the people come and testify that yes, you did something very weird on the road, and so you're a wizard. So because of that, they perform a ritual. And even the ritual, you will even bear the cost of the ritual. So you pay for everything. And then after paying for it, they keep you there. Now, maybe God being so good, the Tindana says, oh no, Kako is not a wizard. The people say, hey, we are still scared of him. We will kill him.
Yeah.
So what happens?
You must move out of the community.
It's there. That is what I'm talking about. You see, we have allowed, it is just someone just opening his mouth and saying that you're a witch, you're a wizard, and that ends your life. That is the reason why this law is so very much important. And that's the reason why the people,
practically, Jojo.
They should put their shoes, like themselves in the shoes of the women then. If their mothers were accused of witchcraft, what would they do?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I've heard of instances in other dispensations as well. I think Vietnam and other places where sometimes it is just, even that it may not necessarily be witchcraft. You may have done something weird and then they point at you and then your source of living, everything, even your own family members will ostracize you. Imagine, we are gregarious as human beings. We need the company of other people. So imagine someone even who doesn't like you can falsely, frame something against you, and all of a sudden you suffer all these consequences. And mind you, in this country, if you look at our social systems, many elderly people, you may not be getting a pension. Even if you are, it is a paltry sum. You're already suffering. And now maybe even your children, grandchildren, how can we live like this?
And that is how we have been living for a very long time. We have allowed it to be a normal practice. And so it happens. Anyone can just wake up and then tell you. One of the most ridiculous, reasons I got. Someone said, "Oh, I had a dream, and in the dream, you were just in my dream. Not that you were even doing anything negative to me. So why would you be in my dream?" And then that means, and then maybe I connected to the fact that maybe I've been applying for a job for a very long time and I'm not getting it. And so I think that, oh man, I think you are the reason why I'm not prospering. And so you have to go to the witches' camp. That is how ridiculous it gets.
Yeah.
That is how very ridiculous it gets.
And
that is why we have to cure this. And I am so happy that eventually the MPs, Susu led this particular thing. So many of these NGOs also came, the sponsors of the bill, Dr. Giselle, everyone, all the NGOs that worked in this particular field. I think finally we have given life to the many vulnerable women in the northern regions who would be ostracized, would be in a particular place that their lives will be taken away from them just because.
And I don't know why the Salem witch hunts come to mind, because there people were, brutalized, burnt at the stake and all of that. Thank God that now we've got to this point. But Yuayu says, Jesus Christ never commanded believers to kill witches. Well, we're actually not referencing Jesus Christ, though you have a point there. Someone passed a comment, and I knew where the person was coming from. Exodus 22. So I was just using that to counter and even steep it in time and context, not to generalize it. But coming to you, Prof, there's an important question, because some people say, as you advance in age, you may lose some of your faculties bit by bit, depending on what sort of nourishment you've had, the life you've lived, the stresses on you. Some of our elderly ones may suffer from a bit of dementia. In our part of the world, elsewhere, they will tell you maybe you are suffering from Alzheimer's or this disease or that disease. Maybe you are losing part of your cognitive function, dementia and all of that. Here, you show any such signs, hey, and if you are poor, you are a witch, you are a wizard. That still remains with us. How do we deal with that, Prof?
Yeah, well, thank you. It's about education again. I think Honorable talked about education. And this education has to take multiple dimensions. And we know mental health is a huge problem in our society. There are all kinds of myths and beliefs around mental health. And that is where we need to have education. But this bill provides us with a tool to be able to do that effectively, and to let people know that nobody is criminalizing a belief. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but when you cross the line to accuse somebody, that will result in the person losing their livelihoods or losing their lives. And when you are accused, it's for life. You are tagged. The stigma is on you for life, and even on your children.
Yeah.
So and as you said, there are all kinds of factors. It's not just the older people who are accused who suffer from mental illness. Some of the accusers themselves are suffering from mental disease. Somebody gets sick and or is depressed, and they make certain.
Hello, Prof. I think you're about to say they pass certain comments or make certain utterances, and then what? Oh, I think we've lost Prof again. Prof, let's try one more time. Can you hear me, Prof? All right. So we're getting ready to wrap the conversation. I'll start with you, Jojo Kobina, before I come to Prof. Hopefully we can get a bite of his. Francis Xavier Sosu, the chief proponent, the sponsor of this bill, has said now progress has been made. It's going to go to Mr. President, and all he has to do now is to give us assent by way of a signature, so it becomes the law. In terms of disbanding the witch camps, from your group and what you've heard in those circles, what are the timelines? How long is it going to take? What is going to be done in the immediate term, in the medium term, in the long term? Walk us through what you know.
It will not be. What I know is that it will not be immediate. It will not be when immediately the president signs the law, and then the bill into law, and then immediately, no, it's not going to be. It will take time. We will have a lot of education outreach. Talk to the people about the law. Talk to people about it. Also, psychologically prepare the people there. There will be counselors. There will be psychologists. There will be. So it will take time. It will not be very immediate. It will take some time. I don't know the timelines yet because at this time the coalition we're thinking about getting the most important thing was getting the bill passed, and the bill has been passed. And so now we would have to meet together with the states to even fashion out ways of facing the camp. Disbanding it slowly, getting the people out there. But one thing that is for sure is that there should be no new inmates into the camp. I mean, the people who are there will be there for some time and then eventually reintegrated. And even if they want to live there for some time, I think that they will still be there. And then eventually it ends. It will not be very, very immediate. It will not just be like switching off the light and then everything. No.
Well, boy, are we glad that we've come to this point. And we also salute you, Jojo Kopina, for the yeoman's job you've been doing in respect of this. Finally, some of us can breathe easy that at least these women, these men too, a few of them who have gone through such a system will get some respite. Jojo Kopina is features editor with Joy News. Thank you so much, Jojo, for joining. We also had Professor John Azuma, executive director of the Sana Institute. Unfortunately, he's left us and we have to move on. And Francis Xavier Sosu, legislator for the Madina constituency. Now, viewers, stay with us because up next, we're talking about something that we sometimes take for granted, but is dangerous. It's a viral zoonotic disease. Rabies is the disease. It's caused by a family or group of neurotropic viruses that causes progressive and fatal inflammation of the brain and spinal cord. If you don't get treatment early, you could be on the path to disaster. Now, the Ghana Health Service is on a campaign to educate all of us on how to prevent, and if you get it, handle this virus. We're joined shortly by Dr. Richard Sula, who is at the University of Ghana School of Veterinary Medicine. That right after the break. Well, thank you for staying with us on the AM show. We talk rabies now, and we're hosting in the studio Dr. Richard Suire. He is a senior lecturer, University of Ghana School of Veterinary Medicine, and president of the Rabies in West Africa, Ghana, a local NGO involved in rabies prevention. Dr. Suire, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us on the show.
You're most welcome.
He's a very humble man. Anyway, when we think rabies, a lot of people just think, we are thinking of dogs, but it's much more than just dogs. And people are thinking, you may have a phobia of water and you may act a little weird. But what exactly is this viral disease, rabies? What is it?
I'm happy you are starting from that angle because it's not just dogs.
Yeah.
It is not just dogs at all. Yeah. So rabies, we say, is zoonotic, meaning it is a disease that can be transmitted from animal to human, and is caused by a virus, a small germ that we can all see. And this virus is a group of them. It's not just one virus. So what we know in the dogs is the classical rabies virus. Okay. That is the common one. But there are about 9 or different viruses that causes rabies. Yeah.
So 9 of them?
9 different types.
What are we looking at? And which
the last publication is 14.
Wow. So now 14 of them.
Yes.
And which animals are the hosts where it usually,
we don't talk of it because the reservoir is actually the bat.
The bat, yes.
That's what we are
because I know of that as well.
Yes, and the reservoir is the animal in which the bat stays and doesn't cause any harm to it. The virus stays and doesn't cause any harm.
Right. So but once it passes on?
When it passes on to other animals, it is able to cause rabies.
And that's why it's zoonotic, because it can be transferred to other animals and then to human beings.
To human, it's called zoonotic. But other animals can also get sick. The dog is one of them, the cats, and other wild animals. The horse, the cow, the elephant, they all get rabies.
And so all of these animals, and interestingly,
warm-blooded
all of these animals, warm-blooded, and, well, a lot of them are kept as pets. People keep even elephants as pets.
People keep them as pets.
People keep horses as pets.
People keep them as
dogs
pets.
as pets.
Sure.
So it's a very tricky terrain we're on, because the very animals you are keeping, if you don't give them the right vaccinations, and we'll get there, then it means you are exposing yourself to a certain risk.
Very true. Very, very true.
Beyond these animals, are there any others? Do those in the lizard family? Because I know people who sometimes keep, what do you even call these ones? The name just...
The python. The royal
no,
python.
not even a python. The lizards.
The lizards, yes.
These...
Agama or something. Monitor lizards.
Not even monitor lizards. There are these ones. I've just forgotten the name.
Okay.
When it comes, as pets.
Yes.
Do they also, can they transmit or host?
No. They are warm.
Because they are cold-blooded.
They are cold-blooded animals.
They can't.
And for them to get rabies, it means you have to heat the whole animal to the temperature by which the virus can survive and then multiply in that animal.
Okay, so
which we are not interested in doing.
Which we don't want to do, because that would result in chaos.
Exactly.
So the warm-blooded animals, what usually is the mode of transmission? Our dogs, for example, because that is the common example, that's what most people know. How do they contract them? By eating maybe a bat or something?
No, but the virus must be introduced first to the animal or to the human being. So you have a bite from a bat, and the dog is sleeping there, or the dog sees a bat on the street and goes to attack it, and if it's rabid, if that bat is having a rabies, it introduces the virus through its saliva to the dog. So through a cat, maybe licking or biting, it introduces the virus to the dog. The virus is in that area where the bite has taken place, it multiplies there. And then with time, it gains access into the nerve that supplies blood or that innervates that area. So it gets into the nerves, and from there it starts moving until it gets to the spinal cord or the brain. It can't do anything. So the success of the virus is to get into the brain. And when it gets into the brain, then it multiplies very fast, spread to other organs, and start causing the disease.
And that's where we have a problem, because the nervous system practically holds you.
Exactly.
Your brain dictates to your heart. Your heart doesn't just beat.
Of everything,
your brain dictates to the heart.
To your heart.
It tells you when you're hungry. It gives you signals. Now, if those signals are disrupted,
then you are dead.
Then you have a problem.
Yes. But the other thing is that when it's in the nerve, the virus is not accessible.
Once it gets into the nerves, you can't tackle the virus.
But which drug can get into the nerve? Because when you get into the brain, it's enveloped. The brain has got a barrier. So when you get into the brain and it's in the barrier, it is not possible for you to treat it again. It's covered by the barrier.
So then what window, for example, a dog that has got rabies, what window do you have to treat it, or a human being who has got it as well? When it becomes zoonotic, it has jumped from the animal to the human.
Yes.
What is the window? Within which time?
So that is when we say you have not got the disease here, the clinical manifestation. So from the bite until the clinical manifestation, you have got that window. And it varies depending on the site of the bite. If it bites closer to the brain, then it's likely that...
So for example, if the bite is at your neck,
so you are
in
very
serious trouble compared to someone who gets bitten on the leg.
On the leg down there.
Wow.
And also depending on the volume, the dose of the virus that is introduced into the bite. So if it's a serious bite, a massive bite, and so much virus load is introduced into you, then you have a problem.
So in other words, you get bitten by any of these warm-blooded animals, don't take the risk. Immediately,
you report to
you must report to a hospital facility and maybe get a shot.
Yes, you report to the hospital, and the doctor has a lot of investigation to make, and then decide on what to do. So you get there. So you report to the nearest clinic or healthcare facility, and then they will then be able to handle you as and what is necessary. So that is what happens.
And this, of course, creates quite a situation, because then, in our part of the world, most people would take such things for granted. Oh, you find some antibiotics to take, you put some ointment there, and you're good to go. But this could actually herbs. Sometimes they even compound the situation. They even make the situation worse. Some of them.
Yeah. So the people take herbs. People don't even care what happens. They kill the dog and they try to even eat the dog.
Wait, so for those who eat dogs as well, if you are consuming a dog that is rabid or suffered from rabies, what are the risks?
Very high, because you never know when you have an erosion in your mouth. Because the issue is those who are handling the rabid dog. Because you are touching or you are meddling with the frank blood. So that is where the problem is. But if it's boiled, it kills the virus and you eat.
So if it is properly cooked, but then you can never tell who has processed the food.
Yeah, you never tell.
For those who eat dogs.
Exactly, you never tell. So that is where the risk is.
Right. Let me come to Eunistia Jagli, who is Greater Accra Regional Health Promotion Officer. She joins the conversation. Eunice, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Why has it become so important? I mean, sometime late last year, early this year, there was talk about rabies, Kumasi, Accra, and all of that. Why has it become important for us to be having these conversations and even talking about the prevalence of rabies?
Thank you. Rabies, as we all know, is a public health concern because it is a condition that when one person has it or a dog has it, the spread is so fast, depending on how it is handled.
So it's very contagious.
It's contagious because, one, you know, we are increasing the number of dogs we have in our homes and in our vicinities. And most of these dogs are not being vaccinated. Even some of us, we have spent so much to secure the dogs, but we don't see the need to vaccinate them.
People are buying dogs for thousands of dollars and thousands of CDs, and you can't spend. We'll get to that.
And then we play with these dogs. These dogs can lick us as a fan, and if they are rabies and you have a scratch and it licks you, you are likely to have the infection. If it bites you or scratches you, you are likely to have the infection. And the unfortunate thing is, from the scratch or the bite to the period that issue is of, most of us don't think we are at risk. So when it happens, we take it for granted. But at the end of the day, when it gets to, the virus gets to your brain and your spinal cord, there is no return. It means you are going to die. So when the symptoms...
it's a clear verdict. Once it gets into your nervous system...
That one, forget about it. No amount of drugs can save you.
Because that's what Doc was saying, that once it gets into your nerves or your nervous system, it means...
You are dead.
Drugs can't...
There's no drug that can help. So it is at the point of the scratch or bite or the lick that you can do something to save the situation. And as we speak, many of us are, let me say, ignorant or do not take it serious about what we should do. So at the scratch or bite or the lick, you are expected to do a thorough wash of the place for 15 minutes with soap and water.
Running water.
Running water.
So let's say you've got a bite.
Yes.
You are not sure. So the first aid you can do for yourself is soap, water, wash that place for about 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Why are we doing that? We are doing that to reduce the viral load.
Right.
So if you are able to wash it and the virus did not transmit from there to your brain, you have reduced it. And immediately after that, what do? You report to the nearest hospital so that they look at you, follow up on the dog, and make sure they observe the dog for some time whilst they take you to the needed vaccination or action that needed to be taken. So it is very important because of the no return at the end of the day.
Initial stage is really more than the treatment.
Yes, there's no treatment when it gets to that level. So if you are not aware and you take it for granted, when it gets there, it doesn't matter who you are. That is the end of it.
That is, it's kind of like tetanus, right? You know, many people get scratches.
Once you start
you take it for
sign,
granted. But by the time you start manifesting those signals, it means, I mean, the likelihood of anything being done is negligible.
Only one person, since time history, only one person has survived from clinical rabies.
One person?
One person, Joseph Miss. He is the only person who survived from clinical rabies. The whole world thinks we know of the disease.
So hence since scientific history
yes,
has covered rabies, since we got to know that, okay, this thing, we are calling it rabies.
Yeah.
This is how it manifests.
Exactly.
And when it gets to this point, it's the
cannot-
point of no return.
No
Only one person.
Only one person, up to date, only one person.
Okay, so,
and that person was put into coma, and he was in coma for so many days, and then when he recovers from coma, he was okay. That's all. There is no treatment. There's no this.
So that is literally one in so many billions.
Yes.
that is 0.0000000.
Chances.
Like, how many zeros? You don't want to take that risk.
No.
You don't. Me, even when I get a scratch from a nail, that is, hey, first thing I'm going to the hospital because, wow. And that is, so in this instance, Eunice, thanks so much for the insight. In this instance, what are we know the telltale signs, but what are some of the manifestations when you show any signs? Does that mean you've reached the point of no return?
You should be bitten by, you should have a bite from a rabid dog.
No, I'm saying that after that, once you show any, maybe it could be aggression,
fever,
a phobia for water, a fever. And once you get there, it means you've crossed the point of no return.
Exactly. When you start showing the signs, it means
there's nothing that can be done.
You have clinical rabies and nothing can be done. The doctors have no choice. They have to do something. But they know in them that you will not survive. But mercy, we don't have mercy killing. So they'll put you in the hospital, they chain you to the bed.
There will be no euthanasia, of course. It's illegal
exactly.
in our country.
That is why I'm saying it's
mercy killing. Yeah.
It's useless. So they chain you to the bed and try to give you some
show you kindness till eventually your maker calls you.
You are up. And you struggle like a dog. You bark literally like a dog. I've seen it. I've seen a girl when I was practicing as a clinician. A girl came in and the father gave the history that he was bitten by a dog. And we don't have problem. When such a person comes, we just fetch the water. The moment he sees the water, I can bet you will not like the whole thing.
They become aggressive.
Very aggressive. Very, very aggressive.
Hydrophobia.
They have spasm, they have spasm and it's very painful. So that is the disease rabies. It's a very horrible disease. You would not like to see somebody have it.
You wouldn't wish that even on your worst enemy. You wouldn't. You wouldn't do that.
Not at all.
So that brings me to the point, Eunice, as the Greater Accra Regional Health Promotion Officer. Why have we waited till now? Is it because it wasn't prevalent or people were not? Because practically, security-wise, many homes have dogs, cats, and all of that, but usually dogs for protection. And a lot of these people, I remember that report from Kumasi, a lot of these people are not vaccinating their dogs. Very few would have the logbook. This was my last vaccination. This is the next time I have to go for vaccination. Why have we? It may not be so prominent. It may not be killing people like malaria or something, but it kills. I'm saying the numbers. It may not be.
In Greater Accra alone for the past 3 years, we have over 19,000 cases.
19,000?
Yes.
Cases.
Over the past 3 years?
Yes.
19,000 people who developed to the point of no return?
Yes. But the fact is that most of these cases are even not reported to the hospital. And the prevalence is so great. Unfortunately, we started by trying to engage the dog owners to understand the importance, because when you break the chain, like we talk about human herd immunity, if you break the chain by ensuring you vaccinate the dogs, the spread reduces and human beings become safe just like the dogs. And we realized that since the majority are not informed, when they are exposed, they don't take the action. So we see the need to come out and ensure that people get to understand. So the window of incubation where you can do something to save the situation, people can actually take the needed action so that they don't get to the point of getting the rabies, which is point of no return. So in fact, there were so many issues that had hindered the publicity and then community sensitization on this issue. But looking at the rate at which we are getting the cases, it has become very important, something that we cannot put on the shelves.
Don't sweep it under the carpet.
Sweep it under the carpet. So we have to start, and we are grateful for you giving us the opportunity. We have done that in some other media houses, TBC, and we are doing it in the community. And we appreciate other media houses giving us the opportunity to do this education.
Right.
Because sometimes it might not be you even owning the dog.
Yeah, someone else's.
Exactly. Your children might not be the owners of the dog, but they work in the community, and you and I can attest to the fact that we have a lot of stray dogs going around. Even those in our home, visitors will come to you, and before you realize you are not at home, you have not vaccinated. What about you yourself? There was a case where this gentleman had a visitor, the dog attacked, he was trying to separate, and the dog bit all over him because he was fighting with the dog. If you don't take the needed action immediately to prevent the virus from reaching your nervous system, then you are in trouble.
Okay, so we have to wrap this conversation. It's been such good education, and I feel we're going to do our best to promote this, put it out there in our bulletins. We've been talking about some of these. But to cap off the conversation, vaccination for those who own these. By the way, birds, for example, people keep canaries, parrots, all of those macaques and all of that.
Birds cannot get rabies.
They can't get it.
They can't.
All right. So just to clarify, I'm posing some of these questions so that pet owners will also know.
Yeah.
Where do people get vaccinations? How much does it cost? Final comments. What's the way forward? I'll start
Animal vaccination, the nearest veterinary clinic.
Nearest veterinary clinic, right?
Yes, and actually it's being subsidized by government through the veterinary services. And
it's being subsidized.
It's very affordable. Yeah, it's very affordable.
About how much? Because I think it's just a few CDs.
Yes.
20, 30 CDs.
Yes. And your dog is protected for the whole year. Yes, per animal. The dog is protected the whole year.
So why would you want to risk? Why would you want to risk?
And that prevents the disease getting into the human beings. No,
that means that even if the dog gets it, it can't transfer it.
No, it will.
Once
it's vaccinated, it will not get sick.
It will not get it.
It will not get sick. And we need to vaccinate 70% of over 3 million dogs in the country. You know where we are now?
We need to vaccinate over 70%. So that's sort of like get some herd immunity or a threshold we have to cross.
But you know where we are here today?
Tell me.
2%.
We need to get to 70% of 3 million plus dogs.
Yes, we
are
annually 2% vaccinated. Even under 2%. The last meeting we had 2%.
Eunice, how can we, human beings, if you don't push the law, what can we do? What do we do? That's the final word, and then we'll have to go.
We believe in behavior change.
Yeah.
And behavior change has to do with people knowing the fact and seeing the risk and accepting the risk and then taking the informed decision. So enforcing the law is important, but people understanding why they should vaccinate their dogs. And the benefit of the vaccination to they themselves, their children, and then the family and friends, I think will be a motivation for most of them to do the needful. So we are using this opportunity to appeal to all dog owners, or if you have a friend or a family member who owns a dog, that there is a need for us to go and do that vaccination. Even we are doing campaigns for free at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
There are campaigns going on for free. So get to your nearest district veterinary office. If you go to the private veterinary services, you have to pay.
Okay, so that's private.
That's private.
But the district, government, public ones, you can go to them. Are you saying that I just have to clarify. Since you are talking about 3 million dogs and all of that, does that mean if all of these people were to rush and go to the vaccination centers, would they be able to get vaccines?
We have a lot. For the last meeting we had, I know we have a lot of vaccine, about 2 million available. If we are able to use it, we will be able to secure more.
Thank you so much.
The rural areas, that is where our concern is. It's not in the city. The city people can afford to some extent, I've seen. But in the rural areas, where would people go?
So what do we do? Should we make it for free?
It's good. For now,
that's also not possible.
It's going for free.
Now it's going for free, but their readiness to bring the dogs is very important.
All right.
So we want you to tell a friend.
We have to go. So we have to go.
Make sure
we have to go. But thank you so much for.
So we hope you
I mean, it's short, but it's been insightful on the show. Dr. Richard Suire is senior lecturer, University of Ghana School of Veterinary Medicine. He's also president of the Rabies in West Africa, Ghana, a local NGO involved in rabies prevention. We also had Unistia Jagli, Greater Accra Regional Health Promotion Officer with the Ghana Health Service. Lady, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Oliver asked for more. Well, we've got an interaction with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. That's conversation up next. Do stay. We're talking the Pan-African Bank, EcoBank, and it has been running the double salary promo, reloaded since May this year. 53 lucky customers emerged winners in the first draw. How I wish I had been one of them, which was held at the bank's head office auditorium under the supervision of the National Lotteries Authority. Well, today we're going to be talking about another draw. Well, the second one was in Sunyani, where over 50 customers were rewarded. The final draw takes place in August, the coming month. Well, joining me in the studio for a conversation on this, Godwin Yankee is head personal banking at EcoBank PLC. We also have Kate Thompson, head consumer products and business development, also with EcoBank. Kate, Godwin, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So how come these goodies are there and you've not got me in the know? And you're on my show telling us all about it. That's just on the lighter side. So this double salary promo, I've actually heard of it a number of times on 99.7 FM, Joy, and I've been wondering. So just tell us a bit about this promo. I'll start with you, Godwin.
Okay, so the double salary promotion is aimed to showcase our new products, the EcoBank salary account. As you rightly say in the beginning of your intro, it started in May, ends next week, Monday, which is 31st July. And then the first draw takes place first week of August. Between me and now, I think we've had almost about 120 people who were lucky to have their salaries doubled, sometimes tripled or quadrupled. And then to qualify, you ought to be 80 years and above. You ought to have an account with us, either a normal current account or savings account or the new salary account.
Okay.
And then you just keep fingers crossed and pray that during the draw you'll be picked up. You also need to have your salary come through the accounts that you've opened at least within the 3 months period. And then should you be picked up, you stand a chance of having your salary tripled, doubled, or quadrupled. So that's essentially what it is.
Shoot. 3 month period. And if I now start, it means my bolos. I feel sad for myself. But for those of you who are already on board, it means you still stand that opportunity. But since you started off on that trajectory, just tell me briefly before I come to Kate, what is the EcoBank salary account? Tell us a bit about it.
Good. So the EcoBank salary account is a specially designed account for salaried workers. You may want to find why salaried workers. Salaried workers because salaried workers will represent a key segment of our customer base. They earn salaries. Those salaries represent stable deposit liquidity for the bank. 2, those salaries also entitles them to access some of our consumer banking products. As you know, you ought to be a salaried worker, earning salary to take a loan, a personal loan from us, or to access a credit card. So it is because of the uniqueness of this segment, customer base that access of salaried workers, that we've decided to also create this unique account for them. And beyond the fact that it's aimed at salaried workers, it also comes with some very exclusive, fantastic benefits.
Okay. Maybe you tell us a bit about some of those benefits. And also tell us, what is unique about this salary account? I mean, we know of current accounts, savings accounts. What is this salary account? Is it different from these two?
Yes, the salary account is very different. And I think as Godwin indicated, it's an account that we birth basically because we have customers that we have banked with that has banked with that for a couple of years.
Right.
And we took time to ensure that we understood what their needs and wants are. When you take the salary worker in particular, we also know the circumstances around how they work and what they want at any point in time. So the salary account was built to ensure that the key needs of salaried workers are taken care of, okay? And when I say the key needs, for example, as a salaried worker, I think you have come here early this morning, it becomes difficult for you to go back to the bank again. However, you have unique needs such as, I need to have access to my funds 24/7. I need to be able to save sometimes, but then I don't have the time to go to the bank again. And when there are issues, for example, you need an insurance package. All these things have been taken into consideration to create the salary account. So talking about the benefits, it's an account that you would be able to get access to a free debit card. Okay. And the free debit card you get makes it possible for you to utilize within the shores of Ghana and out of the shores of Ghana as well. You also have access to 24/7 our EcoBank mobile app. You have access to our online banking.
E-banking.
E-banking. So you have that bouquet in place for you. Then we have an interesting product we call the Save As You Spend. As you spend, a certain portion of that spend is actually kept for you, between 1 to 10% is kept for you. That is put in an account that you can always access the money at any point in time. And for me, I find it very unique because without intentionally wanting to save, you are able to save. And therefore, and again, we have contact center working with you 24/7 when you need access to any queries. So those are
definitely some advantages. I mean, that would distinguish from, let's say, an ordinary savings account or a current account. But I see that some of the benefits also include, like you said, insurance, up to about 10,000 Ghana cedis. Right. Tell us about that insurance and the benefits that come with that insurance.
So you agree with me that life insurance products help to mitigate personal financial losses should the unforeseen or the unfortunate happen. So we've looked at it, as you said, and said that, look, salary workers are basically the breadwinners of the family. So beyond the account, we also need to provide them a bit of protection. So the benefits, the insurance policy covers death, it covers permanent and temporary disability. We have critical illness, we have hospitalization, and then we have retrenchment. In terms of the sum assured, for the death and the permanent disability, the account holder, should the unfortunate happen, stands to earn almost about 10,000 Ghana cedis, up to 10,000 Ghana cedis. For the critical illness, what it means is that should you be ill, you start to get 5,000 Ghana cedis to help you pay some of your medical bills. But the key one is the retrenchment one. We don't say it should happen, but unfortunately, bad things happen. Should you be retrenched, you start to earn about 850 Ghana cedis per month for 6 months. So
wow, I think that's a cushion.
6 months, at least to help
till you find something else.
So largely, these are some of the benefits that
I'm excited about that last one because I mean, we're talking banking, even in the banking sector situation and those who lost their jobs, that would have been a cushion that most people would have wanted. You know, but let's talk now about the salary account. If it's not operated in the same manner as a normal savings or current account, I'm sure some people will be asking are there extra charges? What goes on with the salary account? Please tell us about that. Enlighten us.
Okay, thank you. So for the salary account, of course, for most of the accounts that we have, there are some charges. Okay. But looking at the benefits that we have walked you through, I would say there are charges, but the benefits supersede what the charges
far outweigh the charges.
Far outweigh. So we have two types. We have the classic salary account and then the advantage salary account, where you are looking at a 12 cedis and then a 15 cedis. Those are the fees associated. But the beauty is that you don't need to maintain a minimum balance on these accounts as well. So that is what it is. And if you already have an account with EcoBank, you don't have to change your account to have a salary account.
So you don't have to close one to get another one?
You don't have to.
You can just open that separately?
Yeah. No. What happens is that you would maintain the same account number. Simply change the class to a salary
you just change it?
Exactly.
Because so it doesn't have to mean that I have my salary account. Now I want to make that my salary account and change this to something else.
We maintain
it's a simple process.
Same account number. We just change the class for you.
So it also means, for example, so two scenarios. If, let's say I had an account, would I have to inform my HR about any changes I have to? If that were my salary account, it means that is immediately written off, right?
You don't have to. The reason being that if you already have a current account that your salary was coming through, and you want that account to be a salary account, you simply inform the bank and we do that. The same account number is what your HR has, and therefore your salary comes to the same account.
All right. And in terms of loans, what if the person has already contracted a loan, let's say with your bank? What is the procedure? Are there any limitations once the person is on a facility in terms of getting the salary account?
Okay, so if you have a loan on your current account, for example, and you change it to a salary account, nothing happens. It's the same thing because you maintain the same account number. Okay, so nothing changes about that. So it doesn't have, the salary account actually has taken into consideration all that. The idea is to make sure that it's as seamless as possible for salaried workers.
Any final thoughts, any final points to share with those who may seriously be considering getting that salary account with EcoBank?
So I will just say, look, effectively the promo is ended, but it doesn't mean that the product is gone. The salary account product as a product, together with exclusive benefits, still are available.
Right.
We'll encourage all those watching us and listening to us to reach out to EcoBank and get one of these accounts open for you. And that can be done in three ways. One is to visit any of our nearest branches and ask for a salary account to be opened for you. The other is also to call our contact center. I'll share the numbers, 0800 003225. And we'll help you get a salary account opened for you. For those who want to do a bit of self-service, have the account opened in the comfort of their offices or homes, they can visit our website and then use the online account opening platform to open an account for themselves. And then the website is www.ecobank.com. All right?
All right. Any final words?
Yes. First of all, I would like to say thank you to all our listening customers and then those that have participated in the promo till now. The last one, the promo is ending on 31st July. We would have the next draw, the last draw in the first week of August. And we are also saying that the promo doesn't, the promo is a promo that is giving you a reason to be with EcoBank. But we are saying that the salary account comes with benefits. So after the promo, the salary account still remains. And the benefits are the fact that you get a free debit card, you get free life insurance, you get a Save As You Spend product, you have access to our digital channels or e-banking services. And it's very easy to open an account with EcoBank. And I think Godwin has indicated it. Aside contact center, aside our website, you can also walk into any of our 63 branches.
Right.
And you can open an account. So thank you to all our customers, yes.
Right. Godwin, Kate, thank you so much. Godwin Yankee, Head Personal Banking, EcoBank PLC. Kate Thompson, Head Consumer Products and Business Development at EcoBank PLC. You know where to take your money. On that note, we'll take a bit of a breather. We'll be right back. Thank you, guys. Welcome back. You know we love you, right? We are because you are. And our apologies for two things. This morning, the Ghana Music Awards UK version was supposed to host a guest in studio. Owing to some circumstances beyond control, we cannot have the person here. We apologize for that. And it's been a packed show, I'm sure you will agree, from rabies to the politics to blunt thoughts to prime take, everything in between. We would have wanted to take your calls. Unfortunately, we can't today, but we'll try next week to do more of that. On that note, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Before we go, let's celebrate a few people. So this one comes through from Kingsley Otu, who is here with us. He says, condolences to my brother, Daniel Obimpe, as the burial service of your mom gets underway at the Christ the King Catholic Church. Our thoughts are with you, and may her soul rest in perfect peace. It's also a wish to from Richard Obeng, who is wishing his wife, Dr. Patience Obeng of the UEW, a happy golden jubilee birthday. Okay? You are 50 years old. You are a lecturer at UEW, that is the Ejumako campus. Happy birthday to you, Dr. Patience Obeng. And a happy birthday as well to Anana Amanua Ankra. We celebrate you. God bless and keep you. That's the note on which we wrap up the show this morning. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I've been the Lone Ranger for today, but stay tuned. Next week, Bernice will be back. Stay for Joy News Desk. Up next.